Good morning, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin Show, where I talk about politics and really whatever else I feel like talking about with the people who call in on TikTok live. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube as a podcast, you can find a pinned comment below that'll tell you when the first call starts, as well as some more detailed timestamps in the description. It's fucking Independence Day, people. Yay! I'm so proud to be an American today. No, I'm deeply ashamed of what the country's up to. Now, I wanted to start just by jumping right into a little bit of the current events, because I listened to this 30-minute speech that Trump gave yesterday at Mount Rushmore, and it was a normal Trump speech. He performed okay. He read the Trumpisms off the teleprompter. I almost feel bad for the people who write his speeches, because they have to dumb them down a little bit so it's not entirely obvious that somebody else is writing them, even though clearly somebody else is writing them. And he stayed mostly on task. But the thing that really jumped out to me as interesting about Trump's speech yesterday is that he spent like 5-10 minutes of the speech on communism, which regular viewers of this show know we're talking to the communists quite a lot. People know I agree with the communists on lots of stuff. We disagree pretty seriously about how important the midterms are and what we should actually do about what's going on in America. A lot of the communists think that I'm evil because I think we should vote for Democrats in the midterms, that sort of thing. But I thought it was telling that the president spent so much time talking about communism in a speech that otherwise maybe didn't feel like a speech where communism would be the topic. Suggests to me that the president's becoming more and more concerned about the leftists generally. Maybe that'll be the topic. I am going to thank a couple people really quick before I get to you, Dun21. We'll get to you in just a moment, but we already have some super chats coming in. So I'm going to thank Alina for saying, I'll catch the stream later, going to flying to GA this morning. Happy 4th, everyone. So W's in the chat for Alina. Alina. She always has to spell out Alina because we have Alina Healthcare here in Minneapolis, so I always want to say Alina, but that's not how it's pronounced. And Kronos says, W. Jesse back with us today. How does Kronos know that that's happening? Jesse is back with us today. I have my live producer sitting over there. Yeah, she's glaring at me. Get back to work. Eyes on the screen, Jesse. Come. What are you doing? I'm paying you. Come on now. Anyway. Before I get the first, I'm nicer to my employees than that. I hope people are gonna clip that, and I'm gonna get canceled. Oh no, cancel culture! It's coming for me. Yeah, I do pay the people who help the show. Some of them, because tons of people help with the show. The Discord's getting busy. The mod team is huge. There's lots of experts who help out with the show. There's a big list of people who help out quite a lot. But I have had to pay 2 people to keep it reasonable. The workload, that is. All right, down here we got the second account, Oskar Quentin 2, so you should follow that over here on TikTok if you're not already, so that there's a place to watch the show if this account gets banned for something. But before we do any more housekeeping, I'm going to talk to Dun21. Dun with 4 N's, Dun with 2 N's, 21, all one word. I spoke to him yesterday or the day before. Is this another troll? I don't remember. Hello, how old are you?
32.
32. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Because I hate you.
Okay, I don't think that's a good reason to support a president.
Okay. I mean, you have a fuck ICE thing on the back? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't like ICE, I don't like you.
Okay. Do you want to know, do you know why I don't like ICE?
Because you're a self-hating white man?
I don't think this is going to be a serious call, but I'll give you a chance.
But you do hate yourself as a white person, right?
No, I think I try to walk through life in recognition of the privilege that I have. I think that's important as a white dude. I don't hate myself.
So you do have privilege, and now you're using your white privilege to try to force diversity on everybody else.
I don't think that I'm trying to force diversity. I'm trying to get people to recognize
100%.
that being against diversity is bad.
Okay, but once again, you're trying to force diversity on everybody else, like I said before.
Am I trying to create minorities? What do you mean force diversity upon people?
Of course, you're trying to. You as a white man are unable to compete in your own race, right? So because you are unable to compete in your own race.
What the fuck does that even mean?
What do you mean? What does it mean?
Well, I have no idea what that means. What do you mean compete in my own race?
You're weak in your own group.
Oh, you know what? I think we're playing this game today. Will the mod is on my. He suggested that I'm playing a new game lately. That when somebody behaves like you, I'm just gonna say that we're gonna do the show with our cameras on. So, are you gonna turn your camera on?
Oh, here we go again. I'll put my camera on if you give me your home address.
That's fucking insane, dude. Here.
Okay. Well, no.
My camera's on.
Give me your. No. Give me your home. No.
No, why are you raising the bar?
Give
My
me your home
camera's
address.
already on.
Give me your home address.
That's nonsense, dude.
Give me your home address.
I'm sorry.
Give me your home address.
Are you suggesting that we have like equal standards between the two? That's fucking nonsense, and you know it's disingenuous. I don't want your home address. I don't want you to dox yourself.
You're in Minnesota. What's your home address?
I don't want that, dude.
What is your home address?
I don't want your home address. I don't want people to have to give up their home address. I want your camera on.
Give me the rest of your address.
Dude, you're
are you in Minneapolis?
Do you
are you in
actually
St. Paul? Where are you at?
Do you actually think that this is some kind of gotcha that you think that because I won't give you my address? Camera on, dude.
No, come on.
Look at this coward go. My goodness. Camera on, buddy.
Give me your zip code. Give me your zip code.
55404.
Okay, hold on a second.
Public knowledge where I live. I'm a neighbor of Alex Preddy's.
Okay, so you're what?
People know where I live, dude. I'm a close neighbor of Alex Preddy's.
Okay, well then tell me your address then.
Turn your camera on.
Tell me your address. No. I mean, since we're sharing information here,
I'm sharing my face with you.
Tell me your address. Tell me your address. Tell me your address.
Why? Okay, let me
tell me your address. Give me your address.
Question. I have a
question. Give me your address.
I have a question.
Give me your address.
I have a question. Why do you want my address when I'm asking you to turn on my camera, given that my camera is already on?
We're sharing information. You want to know who I am? I want to know who you are. Give me your address.
Explain to me how that makes sense.
Show me who's paying you. Who's paying you?
People like Lena sent me $5. Actually, Kronos sent me another $2 to say. Well, Kronos sent me another $2 on YouTube Super Chat.
Outside of TikTok from anybody?
Yeah, Venmo and stuff. Venmo, Cash App, buy me a coffee, and Patreon.
Any 501c3 paying you at all?
No. Well, not that I'm aware of. I don't know who
not
sends.
That you're aware of. Okay, not that you're aware of.
People send me Venmo donations. Are you going to turn your camera on?
And what do you do? What do you do for a living?
Talk to assholes like you.
Okay, so like I said, a weak white man who can't go out and compete in the real world. A guy who can't. What's your age? How old are you?
30. Turn your camera on.
You're 30 years old?
Turn your camera on.
30 years old.
Turn your camera on.
Without a job because you didn't go to college.
Turn your camera on. I did go to college.
You didn't go to college. I remember you talking before. You're a blue collar worker. You didn't go to school. Like I said, a weak white man who can't compete in his own race.
Dude, this is hilarious.
He uses minority groups.
I think today might be camera only day. I think we might demand everybody turn their camera on. It's a day to be proud to be an American. It's a day to be proud of who you are. It's a day to stand on business. And
are you a teacher?
I was. I quit that job.
Okay, like I said, a weak white man, a weak, uneducated white man who could not compete in his own race.
Dude, you don't like showing your face. You should apply to be an ICE agent. Have you ever considered being an ICE agent? They don't make you show your face.
Have I ever considered what?
They don't. Have you considered being an ICE agent? They don't make you show your face.
No, I make more money than that.
Oh, congratulations!
So what I'm telling you, but who am I to? Give me your address.
Keep
like I said, a failed teacher who wanted to teach around kids. You probably were sneaking looks in at those kids, which is why you quit, right? A guy who cannot compete in his own race.
Camera
a guy
on,
who
dude.
can't. A
Can
guy
I get
who
some
can't
camera
compete in his
emojis in
own
the chat
race.
to remind the guests what the show's about right now?
Race, so he wants to use minority groups. He wants to use minority groups and weaponize minority groups
who won't show their face and associate with their beliefs. They know that people in their life would find it reprehensible that they have these beliefs. They're afraid of sharing who they are with us.
What's reprehensible about my beliefs?
We can talk about that after you turn your camera on.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
If you think that nothing is reprehensible about your belief,
you use minorities to go up against other white people.
Guys, I'm going to kick him. Don't worry, but I'm going to keep him on a little longer. He's getting the views up really fast at the beginning of the show. It's great. We're just going to give him like 3 more minutes. Don't worry.
Okay, that's fine. Keep giving me more time.
Please, yes. I'll give you about 3 minutes.
People like you.
Please
force diversity on other people.
Mama, thank you for following me. I appreciate that.
In your own group.
We got 5 new followers just from you not turning your camera on. I appreciate that so very much.
We don't care. You don't have a job. I don't care.
I don't know. It's my job to run this show.
You're not making enough money on here to even do this.
Well, I had to hire some people because it was too much fucking work
I'm
to do
hiring
this.
some people. I'm sure.
Wow, look at all the followers rolling in. It went up to 12. Thank you, everybody.
My goodness. You're getting paid from somebody else.
Oh, wait, hold on. I should make sure. I got to check the donations. Oh, somebody, David sent me $5 on Venmo. Let's see what David has to say.
Yeah, that's right. He's a communist, but he's twerking his ass for cyber chains.
David said, well, hold on. David said to turn on your camera, you dry cunt.
Keep busting it open for cyber change. Go ahead. Keep twerking for cyber change, my man. Mr. Communist.
Why won't you turn on your camera?
Mr. Socialist.
I'm neither
you
of
love
those
capitalism things. When it comes to these online.
Michael sent me $2 on Cash App to say happy 4th, comrade Oscar.
Keep on. Yeah, I know.
Why won't you turn your camera on, dude?
Keep on twerking for dollars. That's right. Shake your ass for dollars. That's what you need to do. because you don't have a job. You didn't make it in the world.
Does the guest know I'm having fun?
You're a loser.
Hold on. Jazz sent me $5.
No, you're not. You're not having fun at all.
Jazz sent me $5
You don't
on
have
YouTube
a
Super Chat. He
choice.
said, "Sounds like this
You
guy's
don't
a
have a
weak
choice
guy in his
at
own
all.
race, and that's why he's so scared to put his camera on." Maybe,
Yeah, we got this. Oh, now he's taking my words.
Well, I'm
Once
just reading
again,
what the
you
donors
want
send me. That's part of the
minority
job.
groups. Yeah,
Hold on. Joseph sent me $10 to say what an
your
actual.
job. That's
hold
right.
on. Joseph says what an actual twat this guy is. I agree, Joseph.
Yeah,
I think he is a total twat.
I know. More self-hating people like you. We don't care.
I don't know. Wait,
like
hold on.
Said,
Will sent me $5 on Venmo.
Oh, yeah, that's
Will
right.
said
Read it
because
off.
you're not
Read
making
it
enough
off.
doing this.
Read it off.
Thanks so much for making sure that I'm getting enough for doing this. Holy shit, Amanda sent me $20 to say because you can't make it in the world. Yeah, thanks you so much, Amanda.
Send him more money so you can get those teeth fixed of his.
Yeah, well, we were getting my teeth fixed this summer. That's the plan.
Yeah, no, it's taking a little too long. Yeah, no.
I don't know, man. It's making you upset. People are sending me money.
Maybe the teeth
are part of the gift. Maybe because I have bad teeth, people think I'm broken. They're going to send me more money.
Yeah, I don't know. You need to. Yeah, fix his teeth. This is a teeth-a-thon. He needs to fix those teeth.
Are you going to get those teeth
fixed when you're? Are you going to give me your address?
Wait, can I see your teeth?
Are you going to give me your address?
You're insulting my teeth. Are
you going to give me your address?
I've already shown you my teeth.
Are you going to give me your address, failed teacher?
Once again, you're asking
teacher, man.
Why are you asking for my address? I don't want your address. What is this?
Give me the address.
Do you think that you're demonstrating any sort of
I don't care. I don't care about what you're saying to me right now.
I don't know. I don't think we need camera emojis in the chat. I think we need some baby bottles.
I just don't care.
This guy's
let me get that address of yours.
Big feelings.
What was the school you used to work at?
David just sent me. Hold on. David sent me a donation.
That's all he can do is read these off.
I might have to mute you because I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you for a moment because David sent me $250.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, David sent me $200. Let's go, David. So get some fucking W's in the chat for David for sending me $250. Mods, keep him muted. Yeah, we can hear that he's big mad. But David sent me a donation for $250 fucking dollars.
Anti-money until it's counts,
Thank you so much, David. He said I hit a 3-leg home run parlay last night, so here's some of that money since we are communists. Sharing the wealth, David. Fucking holy shit.
W's in the chat. Loving money,
W's in the chat for David. That money isn't even going to me. It's going to my employees. They get paid on Monday. Holy shit. Sue. Wait, hold on. I need to spend more time on David. David, thank you so fucking much for the $250. That's fucking insane. That's a chunk of money that the show needs to run. That's more than the show needs to run every day. So that's
dirty white people.
That's fucking insane. Sue said, turn your camera on, you chicken-ass white boy. Man. Whoa. What a little pussy. Might have an ugly ass mug. I'm gonna get a harassment and bullying flag for reading these donations, but fuck, maybe it's worth the risk. This is fun. Holy shit.
Man, why are you muted?
Man, what a day to be an American. Holy shit. Garrett sent me $5 to say, I can't imagine being so insecure. I don't fucking understand.
Yeah, you need minorities.
Hold on, slow down. I can't hear all of your hatred through these donations. It's bananas. Lucky Phil sent me $2 to say, below average white man is terrified of people with more drive and passion than him replacing him. Work for it, Snowflake. Pull yourself up by those bootstraps, Cupcake. I don't know, man. I think the donors are confused. Wait, who's here?
The DNC donations, they're coming in. I told the DNC to start sending them in, okay?
Parker, you're blowing my cover. Fucking shut up, dude. What are you... Shh. We talked about this at the secret Illuminati meeting. What? Come on. No, we're live right now, dude. I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to tell Dean that you blew our cover.
No, fuck, dude, no, the DNC's gonna shut off my payments now. Fuck, dude.
Oh, well, okay, hold on. I do have a couple more to read, though, because Madison sent me $5 to say guest is an absolute coward and very emotional. What do you think about that, Parker? Do you think he was a coward?
Yeah, he ran away. I think he's scared. I think he'd be scared to join the live and turn his camera on because he's just scared to get mogged. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think my dog knows he's a coward. My dog's even upset about it. Jokes aside, very nice to meet you, Parker.
Very nice to meet you as well. I only had a few minutes just to join up. I thought I would join up and do that because the guy was crashing out. I'll have to come up and join up here very soon. I'm just busy moving into my new place right now, so we'll have to do a live here pretty soon.
What a good time for my dog to be noisy. But yeah, I do appreciate it. And we were mostly just hanging on to him to boost viewership. So I appreciate you helping out with that as well.
Got you there for sure. All right. Make sure to follow Oscar if you haven't already. And everyone, by the way, make sure to tap that screen. Let's get to 100,000 likes real quick. Alrighty. Oscar, have a good stream.
I intend to. I'll talk to you later, Parker. Well, okay, I think we're off to a pretty good start today. If everybody could listen to Parker and keep double tapping away on the screen so we could keep this viewership up. Oh, Dun is the only one back in the queue. Let me know, accept or deny in the chat, whether or not we're going to try again to see how Dun feels about, you know, maybe some of the things that Parker had to say. Though I should probably check if I have more donations to read, because, okay, no, I think they've slowed down. My God, you guys even got my fucking dog excited. Oh, good, we got Toe Muncher 22 to get in here. Toe Muncher 22, capital T, capital M. All one word. Great. We'll see if there's a reason for me to demand that he turn on his camera. Holy shit. Toe Muncher, how old are you? Hello? Hello? Toe Muncher, I heard some background noise. Are you there? Does Noodle even need to be shown that nobody's in the hallway? Sorry, guys. My dog is excited for the 4th of July. Okay, we're going to talk to Jumbo. I'm going to see if Jumbo is going to give us his age and maybe have a reasonable debate with us about something. Let's see. No, there was somebody in the hallway? Perfect. Good job, Noodle. W Noodle for alerting me for safety. She'll let me know when the chuds come to get me. Jumbo's not connecting either. Well, what a day we're having. See, it's good I have a live producer to deal with it. Dog care and also live production for the show. We're going to talk to 7. Here, just take her up and down the hall if you need to. This is getting out of hand today. Hello, 7. How old are you?
I am 25.
25. Pardon my dog barking. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am.
Okay, why is that?
Well, first off,
Ooh, hold on, you're very muffled. I can barely hear you. Could you have like a phone case on or something, or is your phone blocked in some way? Bluetooth, maybe?
Yeah. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Can you hear me?
A little bit better. There's a little bit of background noise. Are you connected to Bluetooth?
Yeah. Just cancel my request. I'll join back later.
Alrighty then. We're gonna talk to MAGA World 66, all one word, capital first letters. MAGA World 66. Why don't you tell us how old you are? Hello? Hello? I think Noodle got excited because I was excited about the donations. She wanted to be involved, but she doesn't understand money. It's a shame. She'd be excited about fucking David sending me $250. Holy shit. All right, MAGA World's gone. Scared them all away. I think they know now that, like, Oskar Quentin, if you say really reprehensible stuff on his show, he might just ask you to turn his camera on, and that's, like, you know, that's no good for them. They don't want that. Lucky Phil sent me $2 on YouTube Super Chat to say, oh, wait, no, I already read that one. Is there a new one? I can't keep track. So many. We're off to such a good say. Oh, yeah, Lucky Phil sent me $2 to say W Parker, W Dean NC, W Oscar, remembering to check, buy me a coffee. Yeah, I get an email notification for that, so I can check. I just had to set it up. Is that it? Is that the show? Is this America Day? We got one person who's not going to show their face after saying reprehensible things to me, and that's that? I don't know. Get double tapping away on the screen, everybody, so we can get another caller in here, because I'm in the mood to debate. I'd like to talk about some politics. I am curious to see how today goes. Is Trump still planning on speaking in the 105-degree heat for 2 hours? Because if he is, I will be watching. Because that sounds interesting to me. They're going to have air conditioners pointed right at his head. We're not going to be able to hear him. Gordon Fisherman is here. Gordon Fisherman. And we're going to see if maybe we can have like an actually serious call. That'd be fun. Hello, how old are you?
Quick. I'm not MAGA. I just want to say something to the effect of him being out there doing his speech for 2 hours. Somebody needs to let him know that Obama did it for 4 hours while wearing a sweatsuit underneath his cashmere suit.
W Obama for standing up to the heat. Yeah, I'm curious how it's going to go. It looks like it's an incredible failure, this 250 thing they're doing in D.C. It's a party that nobody wants to go to. So we're going to talk to Stanley the Manly Johnson, and we're going to see if Okay, we're gonna see if we can like buckle down and actually have a serious show today. Hello, how old are you?
I am 24.
Hello, are you a Trump supporter?
Not a supporter, but I disagree with the prompt.
I mean, it's like kind of rage bait, but I do think it's a fair thing to say. I think that the Constitution describes the sort of democracy we are, and one of the things that's important to maintaining this state of affairs where the power is derived by the decisions of we the people is that the checks and balances work. But because the checks and balances aren't working, because there's enough loyalists in Congress who are going to listen to what the president says instead of what we the people or the Constitution say, because of that state of affairs, I would argue that it's not really a democracy. I think Trump has too much power.
Yeah, and I would say the thing is that that's kind of democracy's fault, no? Because like 70 million people voted, right? And then that's sort of the fault of democracy, right? Why should we solve the issue of democracy?
I feel like I'm already sensing a moving of the goalpost, because if the claim was that the sign is wrong, have you now moved on to accepting that the sign is right, but it's our fault? Because I agree, it is our fault.
No, I would say it's wrong, but you have to remember, like, who is to blame for that.
Hold on. If you think it's wrong, then why are you blaming people for it?
Because I mean, people are in general stupid, right? So I think that's sort of like a way to.
I don't understand. It's not making any sense to me. How can you blame somebody for a thing that you don't agree is the state of affairs?
Well, I never said, right, well, I don't agree that America is no longer a democracy, but in that case, right, when you say democracy is the issue, right, that brought us here.
Well, one of the things about democracies, that's one of the ways in which democracies can fail, one of the weaknesses of democracies is that if everybody is convinced of a bunch of bullshit, they tend to vote for the wrong stuff. So yes, I agree that's the problem. Why are we talking about that if you think I'm wrong?
No, because I still agree that it's still a democracy, right? Because there's still going to be plenty of stupid people voting in November, right?
Pardon me for just a moment. Jesse, could you just take her to the court? Here, keys are here. Sorry, my producer's handling my dog, who's very excited for today for some reason. I think she's a patriot. Maybe she's just excited about Independence Day. But yeah, I mean, you're saying it's... Let's rewind a little bit. What is exactly your claim about the state of democracy in America?
I think that we still do have a democracy, and I think that is like the ruining factor of us.
Oh, you think democracy's bad? What would you prefer?
What would I prefer? Okay, well, I don't think most of democracy is bad. I think that the way we should see it is that there has to be some sort of quotient to be able to vote, right? I don't think just having an ID is like a willingness to like vote. I think that there has to be some sort of, you have to pass some sort of like civics exam or some sort of, placement test that gives you an eligibility to vote, right?
So do you know my concern about that is? Because I agree that it sucks that people who are so, uneducated about civics and the general issues in this country are people who get to vote. But do you know why I'm not for that sort of solution?
Why not?
Because it disenfranchises poor people.
Yeah, I mean, like this would have to be like this is like a whole systematic change, right? So it's also another thing where it's also, I mean, there's the alternative option of letting actual people in power, sort of like syndicalism in a way.
Hold on. First of all, sorry for interrupting, but holy shit, David, thank you for the another $100. David has donated like $350, $60, something like that today. He said James Woods just hit a homer and I bet on him today. Here's my redistribution of that money. Fucking W's in the chat for David. Sorry for interrupting the call for that, but the fucking enormous donations I kind of have to call out. You do understand it'd be like in very direct violation of the Constitution to set up that sort of system in America, so we would have to have a constitutional convention and completely rewrite the entire system if we wanted to achieve that, right?
Yeah, I am very much aware of that.
Okay, so you do want a constitutional convention. You do want to rewrite the rules of democracy, and you want only people who can pass a test to be able to vote?
That, or we can do it, there's another way, in the syndicalist way, in which we can break people up into interest groups and the local syndicates control sort of, what goes on there instead of electing people, right? Where the people are actually the ones in control and are collectively owning everything, which is like the second option, right? But if we want a more realistic option, I think the former is a lot more achievable than, the latter here.
Even if I were to suggest that I think this is a good plan. Because I can see the benefit of like a constitutional convention sometimes in the next 100 years to clear up some of the bullshit that's in the Constitution, to codify some of the stuff that we've done with SCOTUS rulings just directly into a new constitution. Like, I can see the value there, but I see a lot of problems with it because we have to dismantle this Jenga tower of Supreme Court precedent, which like leaves a lot of legal determinations up in the air. We'd have to write a much thicker constitution to be able to cover all that stuff. But my big problem, let's just put all that aside for a moment. My big problem here is it sounds like the system that you're suggesting is one in which like wealthy white people would have all of the power. How are you going to avoid the pitfall of all the power going to wealthy white people in your system?
How exactly would it?
Well, would you agree that the sorts of people that you describe as having power in your system are currently in our system disproportionately a white and wealthy cohort?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, so given that we're going to give power to that people, how are you not going to end up with a cohort of people who are wealthy and white in charge of the country, even more so than we already have?
Because I feel like, because even then, right, we're going off the former system, obviously, right? Are we talking about the syndicate system or the test sort of system?
Sounds to me like what you're suggesting will hand more power to rich white people. I'm trying to undo that state of affairs, personally.
Okay, well, in which, like, how would it though? Is specifically, just like, give me like an example of how that would actually happen.
Hold on. Now I feel like you're backpedaling, because when I asked you point blank like 60 seconds ago if you'd end up with a disproportionately white and wealthy cohort of people in control, you just said yes. So like that seemed also obviously reasonable. Are you now? Well, are you now gonna like pin me down on that and act as though that's not obvious because you don't want to get to the next point, even though you already agreed to the first one?
No, I thought you said, do you agree that the system we have now?
Well, I
think I misheard you.
Well, I'm saying that the system you're suggesting is one where we're handing the power to like a small group of elites, and the elites in this country are unfortunately disproportionately wealthy white people because of our fucked up racist, misogynistic history, mostly rich white men.
Oh, okay. I see where you're coming from now. Okay. Well, that's the problem with the Constitutional Convention, right? And I think there are ways we can get there, right? We don't necessarily need a Constitutional Convention, right? I don't think we necessarily need one, right?
We would need one to get what you want. You suggested a system that would absolutely require a constitutional convention to achieve, because you're describing a system for voting that is not the one that's described in the Constitution. You're talking about taxation without representation. Are we only going to tax the people who pass the voting test?
No. So
tax everybody, including those who don't pass the voting test.
I mean, you can make, I don't, like, it's kind of a weird thing, taxation.
I'm sorry, had you not considered that your plan is taxation without representation?
I have like a weird, like, kind of love-hate relationship with taxation anyway, right? It's sort of like
What the fuck are we talking about? Like, what is this? What do you want?
Yeah, but okay, so I definitely understand sort of the problems you're coming from. Now that I like fully understand it, because I wasn't understanding your point before, that the idea is that the Constitutional Convention would be written by people who are already rich and wealthy and stuff. But I think...
Well, no, it's not even about who wrote it. It's that you're the one who wrote it, and I looked at what you want, and I said, yeah, if we do that, it's going to be rich white men mostly in charge, even more so than currently. That's a big problem. I don't like that. Why do you want that? You admitted yourself that would be the outcome.
No, I said under the idea that, did you say the current system, right? So I misheard you, okay?
Okay.
So that was a technical error.
Okay, I can put that aside. Then I'm just really not understanding like what it is you're like you've called into my show where I try to convince people Trump bad, voting blue in November this year, probably pretty good. You've got the floor, man. There's hundreds of people watching. What is it you want?
Oh, definitely. So there's two systems we can go off of. We can go off a system in which voting is determined by like actually taking a test, actually knowing, like getting educated about this sort of subject, or we can have the syndicate system in which we kind of divide everyone up into kind of like labor union sort of syndicates, and they sort of run their own little, little cabal each, right?
The syndicate system. Describe the syndicate system more. Sounds like you're describing some sort of like... Are you talking about a panel of experts? Are you talking about regional, local governments? Like what do you mean by this? Like what are you talking about? Unions? I'm trying to get some ideas from the chat. What's the chat saying? Somebody said unions. Castes.
Yeah, so
somebody else is talking about castes. Like again, this reeks of like elitism. Like it doesn't sound to me like you're describing a way to get back to democracy.
Well, syndicalism is a way, right, in which labor unions are sort of in control, right? And in this country, right, it would be sort of the idea where every single sort of sector is sort of divided, right? So every sort of industry is divided on a, federal, state, and local level, right? If we're talking about it this way.
That's already we have that.
Yeah, I know, but we're doing it through syndicates instead of elected representatives, right?
Okay, I'm understanding that the name is different, but I'm just not getting to the descriptive details of these systems that are different than what we currently have.
Yeah, so definitely. So syndicates would actually be the actual working class in charge, right? Those are comprised of the actual working class, right?
Okay.
In charge instead of elected representatives.
But you're going to take voting away from the working class by putting a test in place, so if people aren't educated.
This is like, it's a one or the other system, right? It's not both, right? We're just kind of thinking about what is more kind of realistic, because if you have a bunch of like workers in charge, right, they kind of need to be educated in order to run things. Well, people, on the other hand, you're kind of forcing them to be educated because they're voting. So these are two different systems, right? So it's sort of the same goal and same solution.
What the fuck? I'm just not understanding like what it is you're trying to convince me of. Like it's not even clear. Like you're saying, like if the claim is that your system is good and it's one that like, are you trying to convince me of a system that I should promote instead of me promoting the things that I do promote people should do? Like what do you want from me? Why have you called into my show?
Well, I disagreed with the America's no longer a democracy thing.
Okay. Well, then why did you move on to describing a new system of government instead of addressing what I said about that, which is that because the Republicans in Congress are loyal to Trump instead of the Constitution, which describes that the power is derived from the people, the power is no longer being derived from the people, it's being derived at Trump's whim. That's my claim about how we're not a democracy anymore. I said that to you earlier, and then we like immediately went off into the weeds about how we should like make a test for voting. Like, what the fuck? What is this?
Well, I said because like we are still a democracy because there's still going to be people voting in November now.
No, for the reason I just described, which you're just not responding to. And I think it would be less of a democracy if we gave people a test for voting, because then that's less of the people voting. That's power derived from fewer of the people.
Well, those are like you have to remember, right? A majority of people are stupid, right? You gotta I think we can all agree on that sort of here, right?
I'm aware of the stupidity problem in America.
Exactly, right? So why would we allow stupid people to vote?
Okay. Again, my question wasn't, should we allow stupid people to vote? I've already answered, by the way, why I don't think that's a good solution. But my question was, why are you asking me about stupid people voting instead of answering the claim that you said you called in to discuss, which is that we're not a democracy anymore? I gave a description of why I decided to make this the prompt today, and you still have not responded to it. You just moved on to say that you want us to be even less of a democracy because people are stupid.
I mean, people are stupid, right? I mean, I think I would be better as sort of, envisioned in all of this system.
This guy's not tracking. Like I don't feel like this
even at the top of this system, right? I am still sort of like the emperor in this system, not emperor, but sort of like the president of this system anyway.
Right? Like what the fuck? No, I'm done with this. Get off my show. This is ridiculous. Thank you, Araxis, for the $2 on Cash App. He wants feudalistic mob states. This is silly. Yeah, I agree. It's just a fucking waste of time. And I think in addition to it being silly, I think it was disingenuous. I think he was actually intending to waste my time and tank my viewership. He took away all the viewers that Parker gave me. Goodbye, everybody. That's okay. I got some new followers from it. Oh my God, my cats are wrestling. That's so cute. They're brother and sister. They're allowed to wrestle. The pets are being fucking disruptive today. They don't want me to do my show on America Day. Yes, Jesse, you can come back. I don't know if she's listening. I'll put it in the chat. We're going to talk to James Warnell. After I remind everybody, there's a link tree in the bio. So in addition to following Oskar Quentin 2, so you can watch the show when this account gets banned for something silly, you can follow me on all the other platforms and watch the show when I'm not live, that sort of stuff. It's all on YouTube. Instagram is my primary social media that I actually check, and I guess I'm on Facebook too. But if you want to support the show materially, Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. And I'm just going to keep saying it. Fucking W's in the chat, because fuck. I mean, David just sent me another $5. She said, this guy watched Hunger Games times once and said, I want that. Yeah, he seems to be describing a dystopia of sorts and just uninterested in engaging with that. But again, I think it was a fucking troll. So you can support the show if you want, me for this to continue to be my job. If you want me to keep paying people like Jesse to do things. Hey, thank you for becoming a member over on YouTube. A Stamper. And I think I had another fan funding over there to read. That was, Chronos saying, I'm on my lunch now. I get to see the chat talk about this guy's stupidity. Jesse. W is in the chat for Jesse for being live producer. The joke I've been telling is she's my PA, my production assistant, and then sometimes my personal assistant because my life is fucking insane running this show. So right now she's caring for my dog. So she's being a personal assistant. She'll come back upstairs and go back to being a production assistant. If my dog can quiet down, my goodness. James Warnell is our next caller, and let's see if we can prove Mike in the chat wrong. He says this ain't a show. Let's see if it's going to be a good show. James, how old are you?
I'm 49 or 48 in Maryland.
48 Maryland. Are you a Trump supporter?
I am, but I'm not going to talk about. Basically, I wanted to talk about what you said about education and passing things. Well, I graduated in 1995. In order for me to graduate, I had to pass a civics test of constitutional and things of that nature. I don't know how old you are or what year you graduated from high school. I didn't know if you had that same criteria.
I did. I was born in 1995, so you and I are in pretty distinctly different generations. I did have a pretty privileged public school system where I grew up in New York, so I did have to pass a civics class to graduate high school. But because that's not guaranteed at any federal level, because that's not something that we consider important enough to send the Department of Education into our middle schools and high schools to get kids. Are you driving?
No, I'm parking. My daughter's getting into my car now, so I'm going to go off for a second because I do have to drive to her work. But I just wanted to say, because I didn't know if that had stopped, where it was a requirement to graduate, or make it more of a national thing to where it has to, you have to pass a civics test in order to graduate on the state, on the federal level. For you to graduate high school, you have to pass a civics test. I don't know if that's a thing or not.
So I think what you're missing is that the experience isn't the same for everybody. When you took civics in high school, not everybody was. Like, it wasn't that we had it back then and it's gone away. It's that it was never consistent. I'm sure that the high school that I learned civics in is still teaching it, but I went to a super duper privileged high school. So the issue is just that it's not widespread enough. Specifically about what that caller was saying is, I just don't think that we should punish people for being poorly educated. We should just focus on educating people better, because that solves the problem without disenfranchising people, even if it takes a little bit longer to fix it that way. I think that's better.
Well, I think that people won't always learn on the same level, so you're never going to get the same person get the same grade no matter what.
Sure.
So
there's millions and millions of students in the school systems. It's never going to be perfect, but we can make it better.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, as I said, make it a national thing. For you, like for me, when I graduated high school, I had to pass an English test. I had to pass a math test. I had to pass a civics test in order for me to graduate. I don't know if that's the same thing at every level of every school, of every county, of every state.
Yeah,
but that's why I think you should make it that way. I think that should be made that way.
I agree.
And
I agree. We should have some national standards on those sorts of things. I agree totally.
So that's what I wanted to bring up. I wasn't sure if, like I said, if you had that, or if some of the other people who are watching this had that type of thing. But that wouldn't disenfranchise anybody, because it's an education requirement for you to graduate high school.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, it's not as strictly required as you might think. You don't go to jail.
That's what I'm saying. I think you should. Well, like I said, I mean, people, and if you're going to make it that way, you make it that way. To get your GED, you have to pass those tests. I mean, I think that's probably the only way you can do this, to make sure that everybody has the ability to learn this, and you're not disenfranchising poor.
I mean, I think what we're fundamentally agreeing on is that education is important, and the federal government should do more to make sure that people are better educated, because that's better for the democracy, right? Like, is that kind of the bottom line here?
Pretty much. I mean, it's problem though. It gets into the funding portion of it, because I don't know if you've ever seen our statistics for certain areas. They throw a lot of money into it, but yet the graduation rates are really low. So it's a very mixed thing. I would have to look into it farther and how to make it feasible for every city, state, and county to do that.
Sure.
But
you do understand that, like, people could listen to the last 5 minutes of you and me talking to each other and be like, oh, this is two Democrats talking about how the education system should be bolstered.
Well, but I also think that it's throwing money at the school systems also doesn't always work either. So that's my Republican side of this. You can't keep throwing money at the school systems and expecting everything to change.
That doesn't mean that the solution is going to not cost money. Right?
No, I understand that part. I think you said
Should we give up? Like what? And you're wrong, by the way. Like on average, school systems do better and have better outcomes for their students when you give them more money. You can absolutely find examples of money being misspent by school systems or examples where that's not the case. But across the board, more money, more better for schools is a pretty solid trend.
Well, I mean, again, I look at the money that's paid per student in my state, and Baltimore City has one of the highest ones in the state and one of the lowest amount of graduation rates in the state. So I kind of disagree with that one, but that's case by case basis, to be honest with you. So I can't really.
Again, you can give me. I just said that you can find examples, and then you provided an example. But my greater point was that I don't give half a shit about these examples. It's obvious that it's expensive to give kids better educations, and I know that from the data. And if we are going to talk about personal experience, I know that as a person who's been a lifelong educator. I taught in schools in New York. I've taught in private education circumstances. I've taught in daycares. I've taught through like startups that teach computer programming to kids, and I just got done being a high school teacher for a year. So like I get it, and all the problems that teachers complain about, all the problems that administrators complain about, it's all shortages of labor and supplies, and those are things that are fixed with money.
Of course. And like I said, I think you have a lot of, I don't know if it's overhead or where money goes in that respect, but to be honest with you, I am one of those people, one of those Republicans who have teacher friends, and they definitely do not get paid enough. I will gladly admit that wholeheartedly. I have some teachers who I couldn't imagine doing half the stuff that these teenagers are doing nowadays. I couldn't imagine cussing out my teachers in high school. I couldn't imagine assaulting my teachers in high school. I couldn't imagine bringing, pew-pews to go to schools like they do nowadays. I can't imagine half that stuff.
Well, I can imagine a lot of that stuff because like I just said, I've worked in a lot of different, diverse educational environments, so I have a little bit more of a broad experience. You're driving, dude. I gotta let you go. I know you're driving. Man,
I'm sorry, man. I was getting ready to tell you I had to start driving, but that was definitely good chatting with you. If I can get it free, I'll call back up if you're still on. We'll talk more.
Yeah. Call back in because I do want to know why you support Trump. Sounds like you shouldn't. He's dismantling the Department of Education. That's not going to make the system better. I think only a friendly in the chat. I'll say hi to Jacob quick. How you doing, Jacob?
Dude, I am doing good. I'm doing good. I wanted to come up and join the conversation because I've had a very similar experience when it comes to my civics education.
Massachusetts, right?
Yeah. So I was in Massachusetts. I went to public school until 8th grade. COVID hit, and then my entire education kind of fell apart. So I went to boarding school. But here's the thing. The boarding school that I went to was paid for by my state because I was neurodivergent. And that is a system that allows individuals to get quality education, especially people that are neurodivergent, to be able to actually get decent education levels. And I think that's a system that needs to be implemented federally. Second thing is I want to mention is my civics education was so good that I'm literally able to call my old civics teacher right now, and he's helping me doing debate prep for Jubilee. It is so crucial to get good civics education in this country. And I think it's such a tragedy that it hasn't been implemented already.
Well, yeah, and the gotcha I've been doing lately, because it's I think everybody, there's so many callers who now have had memorized what the three branches of the government are, because it's the question that everybody asks as the litmus test. They've heard it on Dean Withers so many times that they know they can rattle them off. So the thing I like to ask is, who's a politician who you hate? And then I ask them which branch of the government that politician works at, because they might pass the quiz of getting the labels right, but really I'm actually less impressed by a person getting the labels right than I am by somebody understanding what the branches do. Even if you don't know what they're called, that's not important to understanding that's not as important as understanding what actually is going on. Because people fail the most basic civics questions, even if they know those three names. They don't understand how a bill gets passed. They don't understand the level of authority that the president has, and I think all that's catastrophically important to engaging with this stuff. I just, It's education. You and I were privileged. You know, I grew up in New York and I went to a specialized high school, one of these like fancy STEM schools that you can just take a test and get into, even if you didn't do your homework in middle school like me. Oops, I was a bad student and I got into a good school anyway because I grew up in a place where that type of privilege existed for people like me. I hope you can agree with me. Disenfranchising people about their lack of education is probably not a good solution.
Yeah, so I didn't mean for it to come across that way. I more mean that.
No, I'm not worried. I'm not accusing you of that. That was the first caller.
Yeah, so I more mean when I'm talking about the neurodivergent stuff is that's what happened with me. So obviously I can only talk about my experience. I think we need to raise the whole education standard, and honestly, like, this is an unpopular opinion that I think most people don't agree with. And I'd love to see what you think of it. I think we need to take resources away from private schools and put those more into public ones. Like, I think private schools are way too, this is the difference in education between private and public schools is so drastic that I think it's a real problem. I
was just a high school teacher at a private school, and my conclusion after doing that for a year is, it's fucking unfair that the students that I was working with were getting the educational experience that they were, when down the street the kids who are just zoned to their school aren't. Like, that's inequity that we need to address, absolutely. And that's legally difficult because of what they are. Private schools, depending on the places, like, there are ways that public funding gets to private schools and like charter schools and things like that. So like, that's a little bit messy, but it is also just one of those difficult things where we have, like, colleges are mostly private, right? So like, how do you deal with the capitalism of it? But then we get into leftist territory where it's like, fuck, the leftists are right. Capitalism is ruining education again. Fuck. Like,
I think one way to do that is make community college free across the country.
I'm on board for that. We've been making school more and more free and more compulsory for all of American history. It used to be socialist nonsense. Even before the label of socialism existed, people would say it was nonsense that the idea that the government should supply school for everybody until they're 18. No, we need those young people for the workforce. No, that's backwards, antiquated thinking now, and we recognize that. And I hope in 100 years, people are going to look back at conversations like this one and be like, they were still arguing about whether or not college should be free. What the fuck? Because it's so obvious that if we made college free for everybody, it would, whatever cost that would, whatever bill the government would have to pay to achieve that, it would pay dividends in the success of Americans through human capital. Like, the next, give it 10, 20 years, suddenly your 20 and 30 year olds are people who are really qualified to make America great. Like, that's what's going to make America great, not fucking dismantling the education system. But I think we both know that.
Yeah, and I'll say this, there is a historical precedent for this. Most people don't know, but the first country to ever introduce public schooling, like universal public schooling, was Prussia, the Kingdom of Prussia. And if anybody knows the history of Prussia and Germany, the literacy of the German and Prussian countries had always been like miles higher than the rest of Europe. And the education was miles higher, and it's why they were able to economically succeed so significantly during the 17th, 18th, and 19th and 20th centuries, because of the fact that they were the first countries to implement public schooling all the way back in like the 16th century. And I think that if America did two things: one, if we put in universal healthcare, and two, we put in more focus on public education on a federal level, we would see our country be so prosperous to levels that we couldn't even imagine, because people wouldn't have to worry about things that are just human rights to them anymore.
Well, and like we can sit here and sniff each other's farts about it because you and I both get it, but that's fundamentally the most frustrating thing about the entire political divide, aside from all of the racism and misogyny and stuff. It is just this math problem. It is just this analysis problem of like, oh, you want to make America great? What makes America great? Probably people having good incomes, probably people being able to feed themselves, probably people having the freedom, time, space, money to start their own businesses and follow their American dream. Those are all things that we value here in America. The things that make those things better are, for some reason, the things that Republicans don't want. They don't want, equality between men and women. They don't want better education. They don't want to actually get to tackling the socioeconomic demographic issues that create a situation where that sort of pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness is not really available to everybody else, or to everybody equally. But yeah, I mean, you and I are trying to do the work. I think I'm going to do my mid-read, so I'll tell everybody to go follow you, and I'll give you a moment to give yourself a commercial before you get out of here.
Yeah. And I also wanted to respond to DJ. The money's there.
We can afford it. It's not too crazy. We spend too much money on a bunch of bullshit that doesn't achieve any of that shit. So yeah, I'm with you. We can absolutely afford it.
Guys, I'm Jacob. I'm a 19-year-old from Massachusetts. I do lives every day. Good friend of Oskar. Appreciate his lives, and I come by to spit some truth once in a while. That's me. Follow if you want, but no pressure at all. I hope I'll be live actually later today because I got a barbecue at 3. Just my usual time I go live, so I might be overlapping with you actually.
Fiend.
But that's me.
All right, appreciate you, Jacob. I'll pop into your live later if I can. I will thank. Who do we have on YouTube Super Chat to thank before I get to that? Linktree midroll. Cronus is back. 5 minutes left on my lunch, so I'm back in listening mode. Have a great stream, everyone. W Jesse tiring out the doggo and being here. Have a good 4th. Yeah, she struggles with demand barking when there's an extra person in the room. So in terms of having Jesse here as live producer, it's like a little challenge we're dealing with. But so it goes having an alert dog. She's a needy, energetic creature. Yeah, she'll get used to it. She gets used to everything eventually. And I do have a few more people to thank. I'm going to thank Lindsay over on Venmo, who sent me from a fellow Minnesotan. You're my new fave creator. Keep on educating. Well, that's the beauty of it. I was sad to leave my teaching job, but it's nice that I do get to keep educating through this. It does feel like it's filling the, scratching the itch for me in terms of being an educator. Shalia says we can't keep throwing money. Meanwhile, we're taking more and more money and away and expecting change. Well, that's one of the burns I drop sometimes, where I like to say to Republicans, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want a problem fixed? I regret to inform you that it will cost money to do that." You want to fix a problem, gonna have to find some dollar bills to do it with. Indigo Sarah sent me $20 on Cash App to say W to you and your team. L Noodle today. My goodness. Noodle, come here. Noodle, come here. Hop up. Noodle, come here. Here, we're gonna do the show with Noodle on my lap today, because obviously she can't handle herself otherwise. I'm actually, in all the months I've been running the show, I have been very surprised that she's not been more disruptive. She barks a lot. She's a very barky girl. But now I can't reach my phone to read the donations. Okay, hold on. All right. No, we're gonna say W Noodle. I can't stay mad at her. All right, forgive me if I'm a little mixed up on the donations here, but you can go to the Linktree in my bio if you want to support the show, because people know I'm trying to expand the show, trying to do more things, trying to get some travel done. You guys know about the plans for that. Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon are the ways to pay. Do we have a guest? Oh no, we've just got another one of the staff members. Hello, Raven. What's up?
Hi. I heard we were having people that were saying reprehensible things that didn't want to show their cam today.
Yeah, it does. That we hit the ground running with that sort of thing. That guy was really crashing out. I told him to turn his camera on. He demanded I give him my home address.
That was wild, but I'm about to go protest, so I just wanted to say some reprehensible things on cam.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, hold on.
Kids.
Wait, let's get you up there. There we go.
Feed the kids, eat the rich, fuck capitalism, fuck ICE, fuck Trump. That's about it.
W Raven. I'll disconnect you for the algorithm.
Thanks, bye.
W Raven. And Jesse, I do believe that does mean you are on timestamps. But anyway, I forgot Raven's protesting today. That was my fault. We'll deal with it later. Don't worry. I should have remembered, but I forgot. Anyway, Jen sent me $2 on YouTube Super Chat to say, forgive Noodle, it's the fireworks. Actually, you know what? That's totally right. Last night was really hard for her. She was sleeping on top of my head, panting because of all the fireworks. So we should be forgiving of Noodle's difficulty around the 4th of July. That's an actual problem for her. But do we have callers? We don't have callers. Why don't we have callers? Okay, you know what? On the 4th of July, I will say across the board, maybe everybody's just enjoying the sunshine and barbecuing, right? Weekends are such a crapshoot. Sometimes the calls are super busy on the weekends, and other times they're just not. And I've looked into it now and kind of seen Like sometimes I check like the national weather, and when the weather's really nice on the weekend, as we like moved into summer, I found that if the weather's generally nice in places where like the populations are high, then I don't get as many cars, which just makes sense to me. So if they're out celebrating, whatever. But I do think that this is not a day to celebrate given what's going on with democracy in America. Ungerrymander America, I see you there, but I'm going to try Carson first because it's been a little bit on the show since we got a debate. So let's see if we can get back into what the show's about. But Ungerrymander America, I'll let you come up and get a word in edgewise if you're still here after the call. Carson, how old are you?
Hey man, I'm 21. I'm not a Trump supporter. I just wanted to, for a second, while you don't got anyone up, I'm actually in the Discord.
Okay.
And I just want to say, dude, I love the content, man. I've been watching for weeks. It's awesome. It's great. I study accounting, and as such, also I study economics with it. And it's so insane to me that I meet so many right-leaning people that have these like beliefs that it's like fiscally it's better for the country. With like just often when I believe, like for example, the lack of taxing the rich, which innately just doesn't help anyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I didn't want to take you for too long. I got to go to the gym, and I listen to you while I'm at the gym and shit, So I just wanted to call and let you know that you're awesome before I head out.
W. Carson, I appreciate you for hopping up. Maybe it's a friendly day, right? Like maybe we scare him all away by asking for the cameras to turn on, and then that's the fucking show for the day. Ungerrymander America's here, so I will remind him that I will send him my P.O. box when I have one, because I haven't done that yet. Producer Jesse, remind me to set up a P.O. box. But thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Oscar. Good to chat. I'm in Seattle, and so we actually have a cloudy 4th of July here. I know the rest of the country has a heat wave, but
it was supposed to rain here in Minnesota, and I'm disappointed. It's actually kind of lovely out, and I was hoping it would be dreary to match the tone of what's going on, in the government.
Right. Well, I'm actually working on a video that I'm going to record as soon as I get off the phone with you here. About like America at 250, like we're a republic, right? But we're an aging republic, and my Roman Empire was the Roman Empire, and I think about that in terms of America, and like 250 years, we're at the crossroads of empire, but we can choose to be a democracy, and that's what I want to focus on. Is like we can choose to be a democracy, and we should choose to be a democracy. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I was thinking about you earlier because one of our callers today had like kind of an idea that would require a constitutional convention. So I was thinking, I know one person who's got an actual plan for a constitutional convention. That's Ungerrymander America, who wants to really change up how we do Congress in a way that works a little bit better for the 21st century. So I was thinking of you, but like so many people, he didn't actually have like anything substantive to say about that plan. And his plan sounded to me like one that was going to result in like rich white men having even more power than they already do, which is no good. But I'd be interested to check that video out, because one thing I like to point out is that if we look at the type of country that this is, a democratic, constitutional, representative republic, however many descriptors you want to put on it to make sure that you get it all, it's something like that. If you look at those sorts of constitutional republics, 250 is a long fucking time for a constitutional republic. It's a Jenga, I call it the Jenga stack, where every time we have a Supreme Court case, we're taking a block out and putting it on top. And the thing is fucking miles high now, and it's getting unstable and difficult. So I recognize that we're getting into like rat's nest territory in terms of this very palimpsestic, amended and precedent ruled upon constitution that we have. So maybe sometime in the coming decades, it will be time to like ball it all into a more comprehensive document that covers a lot of that stuff. I think the thing I've been saying the whole time, though, is that during such a time of political strife where the rules as they stand are not being respected, not a good time to do that.
Sure. I mean, I think we're. Have you heard of a polycrisis? Have you heard that term?
Polycrisis?
Yeah, polycrisis is basically the idea that there are multiple overlapping crises that are all kind of rolled into a single thing. People talk about it a lot with climate change, but I think democracy is tied so much with the economic strife and the inequality in our society. And there's actually this quote that I'm going to have in my video from Plutarch. And the quote is, "An imbalance between rich and poor is the oldest and most fatal ailment of all republics."
Plutarch.
W. Plutarch, yeah. Like, that's 2,000 years old. And he's right. There's so many parallels to Rome. I mean, that's what my video is going to be about today. But I do, like, I want to be hopeful on the 4th of July. I love the 4th of July. It's my favorite holiday. And I don't know. I still am hopeful. I refuse to give up on that quite yet.
I can get behind some hope. Yeah, I think I'm going to clear the line to hopefully get a caller, but everybody follow Ungerrymander America, because as far as like out there beliefs go, because your plan for America is a bizarre one, objectively speaking. It's one that I think is worth attention. It's the sort of thing I'm willing to like have serious conversations about and think about, because for the reasons I said, like I think it's undeniable that America could use a constitutional convention sometime in the 21st century to wrap this all up, because of that rat's nest situation where we're just, it's getting too fucking complicated to keep track of all the case precedent. We should just write a better constitution. But doing that is nuclear, and it's not something that I would suggest right now. Yeah. It's just so fucking touchy. It is. Yeah. It takes because doing so takes every single Supreme Court ruling in American history and puts them back up for interpretation, because we're going to reword them and try to put all of those things into a new constitution. That task gives room for whoever does that work to introduce their own biases or to introduce their own interpretation. So like I see the value in it, but the cons, the stack of cons to worry about is fucking enormous. But there'll just come a point where this sort of Jenga stack of constitutional precedent is like not stable anymore. So eventually we do have to deal with it.
I think I would rather see like an amendment than necessarily a whole full-fledged convention, but like definitely we need some amendments. And I'll just say,
we do definitely need some amendments pretty soon. I agree.
Yeah, and so just to summarize what my view is before I go, it's all about proportional representation, and it's all about making the legislative branch the preeminent branch of the government, which is what the founders intended, and that's why they didn't want to have a king, and they didn't want to have a court that is just like ruling insane, ahistorical, anti-constitutional rulings. We got to have a legislative branch that actually works, which is what happened after the end of the Civil War with the Reconstruction era. But anyway, thanks for having me on the show.
Go follow Ungerrymander America. Appreciate you for hopping up. The request queue is empty, but again, it's the 4th of July. Maybe today is the I don't give a fuck about promoting the show day, and we just have fun. I don't know. Maybe we should treat it like a holiday.
Can I do a 4th of July PSA?
Yeah, come on.
Please. Yes. Hi, I'm producer Jesse, but I worked in emergency medicine for a long time, so this is your friendly reminder that this is the last day a lot of people will have all 10 fingers. Pyrotechnics are pretty BOMBS. Treat them as such. Have fun today. Don't drink too much, because we get those people in the ER too. But yeah, happy 4th. Keep them fingers.
W, Jesse. And as a musician, yeah, keep your fingers. I would as a guitar player, I think I'd rather lose a foot than a finger.
Same.
As a runner and a guitar player, I think I'd rather lose a foot than a finger, because the replacement feet that they give you are actually pretty rad, but the replacement fingers suck. So definitely protect those digits. All right. America is no longer a democracy. Maybe that prompt is scaring the chuds away. I don't know, everybody. Get double tapping away on the screen. Oh, did somebody in the request queue? I thought I had somebody there. Get in there. What do we want to talk about? I'll talk to the chat. Open the debate floor, more topics. Well, I mean, that's sort of the thing that needs to happen. Like, I think one of the reasons I've been a little bit less subject to like getting lost and not finding callers, because there's been a little bit of a troll epidemic in the debate space over the last couple of weeks. It's because I am willing to talk to communists and leftists generally, and like more independents and stuff. Like, it gives me more of a pool of people to choose from. So we end up having episodes that aren't actually all that much about Trump or MAGA ideologies, but are still about some of these other things that we need to sort out. And I do see value in that. Chrono sent $2 to say W Jesse. Everybody else say W Jesse. W Jesse's doing good work for the show, including helping me take care of my dog, who's very upset about the fireworks today. But I don't really blame people for that. I just live in a city and she doesn't like loud noises. JOCHPOCH, Joke Josh, I don't know. He'll tell me after he tells me how old he is. Or she. I can't interpret the username. Did he mean to connect? How old are you?
Hello, I'm 41.
Are you a Trump supporter?
No. Unfortunately, so feel free to kick me whenever. I just want to hear a few of your thoughts on various topics.
Hold on. There's quite a bit of noise. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you now. Yeah, it's better now. Well, I'll give you 10 seconds to get a question or a prompt out, but I'll answer it after I let you go.
Yeah, so far as I understand, in the U.S., fewer people have. I live in Sweden, right? So, but concerning the Epstein affair, whatever you want to call it, in the UK, I think more people have been, I don't know, punished or whatever than in the US. Whereas, so I was wondering, do you think that something like I don't know how to put it, but one name that has circled around, at least here, is Noam Chomsky, and he is not to the right at all, but he has been kind of cancelled now. I don't know about the US, but here he has. So yeah, I was wondering if you think this is kind of a strategy.
Noam Chomsky is pretty cancelled. Yeah. What strategy? Sorry,
he is cancelled. I don't know if it's like a strategy from those people to kind of target left-leaning people and throw them under the bus or whatever.
So I let him go, but I will answer quickly that there is a it's disproportionate, right? Like we had a conversation on Pickles Live the other day, and then the topic ended up on my show because somebody watched it and called in and wanted clarity from me on it about my governor, Tim Walz, pardoning somebody who had raped a child, which, bad fucking move, Tim Walz. There was kind of a nuanced reason why it wasn't the most reprehensible thing that it could be when you say that he pardoned a rapist. It was somebody who did it like 25 years ago and is like a functioning member of society now, and Trump's trying to get him deported because that's on his record, so Tim Walz pardoned him just to save him from deportation. Which, I could say that if Trump was going around beheading people who had committed sex crimes in the past, I could say that, okay, maybe pardon them so they don't get beheaded. Maybe that's controversial. I don't know. Point is, I see what he was doing, but I disagree with it. I'm not backing up Tim Walz on this one. But the greater topic is why the fuck are we so stuck on this when the right is doing way worse in terms of protecting sexual predators? Why is there this disproportionate lens on everything? Why is the DOJ being weaponized against people who have my beliefs, but not people who commit actual crimes against the country, not people who storm the Capitol? Why are we giving pardon? We're pardoning people who storm the Capitol and arresting people who observe ICE agents. We're going after people on the we're going after people on the left, and that's primary strategy. I will say Tim in the chat. Even if it was just I've dug in on the details of that case, and I don't think he's creating any danger for society by pardoning this guy. He's served his time. He's got a family. The victim wrote a letter saying that that the victim wanted him pardoned. I just gotta draw the line somewhere, Tim. Anyway, MZ Wonder, Ms. Wonder, is that what it is? If it's a friendly call, I'll take it. It's fucking 4th of July, and it's all trolls today. We haven't had a serious conversation today, I don't think. So this might just be the Oscar show today. Jonk says it feels icky regardless. I agree. That's just the thing. It's I consider all the details and be like, no, I don't think he committed a great evil against society by pardoning that person. I think it's might be the stupidest thing he's ever done politically. I don't think Ms. Wonder meant to join. She's probably teacupped, which is why she is not connecting. I've learned that that's what it means. If a person connects while teacupped, they don't arrive teacupped. They just don't connect. So when the ball spins forever, that's what it is. One of my mods is saying it's not icky. It's downright wrong of Tim to do that. Yeah, I think I agree. I don't feel the reason I don't feel all that strongly about it. I'm not sitting here fuming and mad is because, again, I don't actually think he created any harm. This is a guy who's, I think this guy's done a decent job proving to the state that he's not one of the people who's going to contribute to those recidivism statistics, the statistics about how likely sexual offenders are to reoffend, which is why one of the reasons, in addition to the crimes being so egregious, we have to be so hard on sex offenders and we have to have such long sentences and such long probationary periods of observation is because the recidivism rate is really high. If you rape somebody, the likelihood of you raping somebody else way higher than it is for something like mugging somebody on the street. But yeah, so I just, somebody says bad form. Yeah, it is just not the move, Tim. What the fuck, dude? Go pardon some people who got in trouble for smoking the green stuff when they were teenagers or something, there are better people to pardon, for fuck's sake. What are my thoughts on anarcho-communism? I don't understand it at all. I have known many anarcho-communists. I don't think they recognize the degree to which humans are innately uncooperative. I don't think they recognize the game theory of uncontrolled systems and how quickly the least cooperative parties succeed in such situations. So I cannot square how opposite communism and anarchy are from one another. If somebody wants to call in and explain anarcho-communism to me, maybe I can learn something, because I just can't even fucking wrap my head around how that's a label for fucking anything. It seems oxymoronic. It seems paradoxical. Jez is asking in the chat, is it paradoxical? It kind of seems that way. And then every time I talk to somebody, I've had some close friends in my life who do really identify as anarcho-communists. And when I bring those concerns up, they're like, oh, well, we're going to come up with a system of this or that. And I go, hold on. If you've come up with a system, this already isn't like anarchy, right? Like the whole point of anarchy is that the system, whatever the system of government is, it's just like unregulated. And the chat on YouTube is reminding me that I have not shouted out the Discord today. I should do that. There's a link in the Linktree in the bio to get in the Discord. You can go on there and try to convince the mods that you aren't going to cause a ruckus if you want to participate in the discourse. Robbie sent me $2 on Venmo to say, I heard you arguing with an idiot the other day about inflation, and you were explaining the idea of the rate of inflation slowing down. Essentially, inflation still exists, but just as a lower rate. Not sure if you know the term for this, but it's called disinflation. Oh, yes. Disinflation is the rate going down. Deflation is what we have if the rate of inflation goes below zero. I tend to answer Robbie specifically, I know these things. I often avoid using the technical term if I can. I've been doing this for a while now, and I'm always trying to figure out like how I can best educate the audience and best educate the people who see 3 minutes of me packaged into a clip on Instagram or something like that. And oftentimes, if I can get to that understanding without necessarily overwhelming a person with a bunch of technical labels, it's like the difference between disinterested and uninterested are like meaningful terms to somebody with a really big vocabulary. But like when it gets to actually discussing this stuff, it's just a little bit hard to not muddy the educational waters by overwhelming with terminology, especially because this isn't a classroom. This is a edutainment show where I have to trick people into being educated by me by being so entertaining while talking to the chuds. And yeah, it's worth talking about. Like now I can read the donation to the friendlies watching and give that explanation, but in the context of a conversation, I'll often avoid snagging the conversation with somebody who's barely listening in the first place by getting to such a term. So I hear you. It's often the case. There's almost always some nuanced technical term for exactly what you're talking about. The Philbros are the group of people, like basically if you think that knowing that technical term makes you better and that you have to use that technical term and using any term other than that technical term shows that you're stupid, if you think that, we call that a Philbro. That's what a Philbro is. Somebody who only uses the technical terms for everything and thinks that anybody who doesn't is stupid, and thinks that it's not important for them to make sure that people know what they're saying as long as it's technically correct according to the definitions of all those complicated words that they use, and fail to recognize that people sometimes define those words in different ways. That's just a description of what a Philbro is, in my opinion. Anyway, we've got Andrew in the request queue. Looks friendly, but fuck it. It's like I said, it's 4th of July. Noodle has tanked the stream by barking. That's okay. She's upset about the fireworks. I'm okay. Let's have some friendly conversations. I don't think he meant to be in the chat, but he did ask, is there a front runner? Genuinely asking. I have no idea, just being honest. If you're talking about for president for the Democratic Party, Jesse, would you pull up the polls on the Chrome profile on the right? It's I think it's fucking Kamala Harris and with like 26% or something, but the other names are Buttigieg, Newsom, AOC, and the person who I was looking at the betting markets the other day, because I don't participate in the betting markets. I think they're kind of evil, but I do look at the betting markets sometimes to just like get an assessment of what public sentiment is, because the betting markets are surprisingly accurate because people tend to stake their money on things that are going to work. Yeah, so she leads in the 3 front runners right now are Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, and here, I'll take over controls, Jesse. If we look at this. Oh, look, Mark Kelly, who's my pick, is actually like on the board. Yay. But not with very much. Because it's basically nobody has double digits until we get to Pete Buttigieg doesn't even have double digits. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is almost at double digits, but it's really just Harris and Gavin Newsom, both of whom are the sort of establishment Democrat that I'm not going to be all that excited about. But I have to recognize we're not going to get anything but an establishment Democrat for the presidential ticket next. If me as a Democratic Socialist, I could hope that the vice president is somebody more progressive. But like Lone Dro says, both of whom are horrible. I agree. The only person there's only a couple of people on this list who I don't actually hate. 3 maybe, because it's going to be Mark Kelly, Pete Buttigieg, and AOC are like the only 3 I'd be like really excited about. Mark Kelly, I've given my speech for him before, but I just think his electability is so strong. Like the fact that he's gone against Trump on all these illegal things that Trump has done. He has a service record. He's an astronaut. Like I just think he's exactly the sort of middle of the road Democrat that can win against Trump. But that's me speaking pragmatically. I'm not actually excited about an establishment Democrat becoming president. I just recognize that's the lesser of 2 evils right now. So yeah, and AOC for I think AOC for VP is the move. I think it's, unfortunately, we still live in an America that's too sexist for it to be wise to have a front runner who isn't a white dude, which sucks to say. I hate saying that for being the progressive person I try to be, but twice we have lost the presidency to Donald Trump because we tried to run a woman. And I do think that the percentage of Americans who will not vote for a woman for president is too big. We're not there yet. I'm sorry. Carson's back. I think he was the Trump supporter who agreed with me that we need to work on education. I'm just going to ask him to remind me how old he is before we get back into it.
Hey, dude. I'm 21. I wanted to join in earlier when Untitled America was in, but I was driving. I just parked outside my gym. I noticed you ain't got much going on, so I actually wanted to talk to you about this when he joined because he actually reminded me. So you bring up a couple times when you debate some people about how voting in Democrats is more likely to get us ranked choice voting, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that this. I think we both agree that this isn't going to be something that happens in like the near 10 years or even 20 maybe. I would argue that if we're just talking about ranked choice voting showing up in places, it's already happening. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about it being available at every level of government, then yeah, that's decades away. I understand that. Yeah, because we're definitely seeing it more like for example, New York. It's how we got Mamdani, who is my mayoral election here in Minneapolis was also ranked choice voting. I got to cast a vote for I didn't want Fry to win, but I was able to cast a vote knowing that I'd still vote for Fry if my pick didn't win. So I don't like the outcome of the election, but ranked choice voting worked for me because I got to vote for the person. I got to vote for somebody who the people in Minneapolis kind of saw as third party and still have it count. So yeah, it's happening. Okay. I guess what I was wondering is like what specifically is encouraging Democrats to do so, right? Because the reason why I asked that is that I'm noticing a lot of parties, like for example with Mamdani, I wouldn't really describe him as a Democrat, but he seems more like someone as well as many other Democrats who really ran as a Democrat because it was the closest they could get to what their political leaning was if they actually wanted to like get political power. So something I'm wondering to you is Democrats likely recognize this, like Democrats in power, of course. And so I'm wondering what is their incentive to like actually put third parties in order? Because I notice you talk a lot of other people about this sort of subject and they typically just straight up ignore it. And I just want to hear what your thoughts are on that. Well, so specifically, there's this little thing that people don't consider about ranked choice voting, which is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you get to vote for like an establishment party and then some like obscure third party. It just makes it so that we're less likely to have a situation, particularly for these smaller local elections where it isn't quite as bipartisan, where you might have a field of 3 or 4 candidates for mayor. And the problem is that the Democrats might go, all right, we all have to team up and decide which of these 3 blue candidates we're voting for, because if we split the vote, we're going to fuck it up and the Republican's going to win. Ranked choice voting fixes that because there's greater division among the Democrats because we're not just all worshiping one asshole. We all disagree about all these little things. The Democrats are interested in ranked choice voting because it gives them a better chance themselves. And then as a side effect, it also gives a better chance to the growth of truly independent parties, or maybe not so independent parties, such as the Democratic Socialists, who are
mostly Democrats in terms of policy. But yeah, so it's that there's shared incentive for ranked choice voting among establishment Democrats and people like myself, who eventually I would love in my lifetime as a 30-year-old. I get to look forward at the next few decades of me being involved in politics, and like maybe something I can contribute to is like getting rid of this two-party system. Like if that's what happens next in American politics, I'd love to be a voice in the damn thing. But I recognize that we just need ranked choice voting for that to happen.
Hey man, you got my vote. But okay, yeah, no, okay, so that makes more sense then, because like my whole time I'm thinking like, well, Democrats are more likely to lose their own party members, but what you're saying is essentially it would harm the Republican Party more than it would harm the Democrat Party, correct?
Well, it's that if particularly for things like mayoral elections and other local elections, like it's not even that it's going to harm the Republicans more. It's that certain Democrats really want that to happen, because we have non-establishment Democrats who want to take these seats but can't even get involved for the reasons we just described. So it's not even necessarily about like harming the Republicans more. It can also just be that in a lot of circumstances it's directly beneficial to establishment Democrats. Depends on the exact, like whether or not that would be the incentive. We'd have to look at what like specific locality we're looking at, what city we're looking at, what governorship we're looking at, what type of representation we're looking at the state level. Like it's going to be different, but across the board, if we were to average it, Democrats see self-beneficial benefit in ranked choice voting as well as benefit for third parties, which I will say just ideologically the Democrats are actually for generally, because they do just want the will of the people. That's one of the trends right now, where Republicans are trying to subvert the will of the people, pass things like the SAVE Act, make voting harder, make voting scarier by putting ICE agents at the polls. Like there's all these things that the Republicans are doing that's showing that they don't actually want the will of the people. So I will say there's probably some Democrats who are willing to do something that's good for the people, even if it's maybe bad for the establishment party. That's not going to be all of them, obviously. But yeah, it's messy. It's just that the Republicans obviously don't want ranked choice voting. They're terrified of it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Because I mean, I don't want to generalize about parties, but I mean, just if we're talking about like Congress members and other political seat holders and stuff, in regards to that, it's Republicans you can definitely see are less likely to do stuff for the people, just like in what I've seen personally, as well as just generally what they're passing. Especially, I think mostly just recently, ever since 2016, since Trump got into office, is where we mostly saw a spike of that. But they were definitely like that before. I just don't think to the same extreme, right? I think that makes a lot of sense though, because I've been wondering that for a couple of days. I just never had an opportunity to really like ask, you know what I'm saying? Or I wasn't sure how to like really research that. So I just wanted to ask you directly, hear what your thoughts were.
Well, that's why I appreciate, time like this to take more like less confrontational calls, because it is important to talk about this stuff. And it's one of the reasons I'm proud that I get to wield one of these platforms, because a lot of people who have this level of viewership that I've achieved recently will like work so hard to defend that they'll just like throw away any meaningful conversation. And I'm just not personally about that. I actually want to talk about this.
Right. Stuff. Like I think the nuance of conversation has really been lost. It's an art that's kind of being lost. I think it's always been lost, to be fair. But I think even more so now over very small things. I feel like a lot of people, have a small disagreement about something and immediately we make the worst assumptions about one another. I'm guilty of this myself. And like, because I just believe that it's best if we have conversations like this and try to understand what the points are. This was something I was concerned about, was because I'm not huge for Democrats, right? But I think anyone with a brain at least, can admit that Democrats are significantly better for the people currently than Republicans are, right? The facts are there.
That's what I've been saying going into the midterms, right? Like you don't have to get your dick very hard for the Democrats to recognize that you're going to get fucked either way. May as well not be as hard,
Right. Yeah, I'll take the smaller dick over the big dick,
There you go. Yeah. If we're gonna be vulgar about it.
Yeah. Oh, my bad, man. But okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that. If you have someone else in the queue, I'll head out. But
yeah. I do have somebody else waiting, and I saw somebody in the chat who's interested. So I appreciate you hopping up.
All right, boss. You take care.
Debbie's in the chat for Carson once again. And yeah, I'd love to take a debate, but we're also kind of just doing friendly time because it's the 4th of July and I don't give a shit. So I saw Aaron in the chat. You said you had something to discuss. Feel free to get in the queue. You can be next, but we're going to talk to the Chicago Ferrets after I remind everybody about the link tree in the bio and thank a couple people who sent me some donations, because Aaron sent me $5 on Venmo to say, hey, Oscar, I'm a Trump voter who'd love to chat with you on your current debate topic, but I don't know how to call in. Oh, wait, this is Aaron. Okay, yeah, love the show. Even if I disagree with you, appreciate you elevating the discourse. So right here above Oskar Quentin 2, you should see a button that says request. And if you don't, it means your account maybe is not established enough on TikTok. So I would say keep participating in lives, and I'd love to have you in. And soon we are going to work on getting a phone number that people can call to get in, but that's a technical challenge that I don't need to bore my audience further today by talking about. But I'd love to talk to you, Aaron, and thank you for the $5. When a Trump voter has some stuff they want to talk about and they send me a donation, it suggests to me that it's going to be a good faith conversation, because a lot of the people who I even disagree with pretty staunchly who have good faith conversations are people who are like excited about the show and support the show. And that's always nice. And Ellen didn't send me. She became a $20 member over on Patreon. I don't get too many Patreons, so I'll have to look through that later. If she sent a message, I'll reply to it personally, because I don't have that open right now. But yeah, Linktree in the bio for all of the ways to support, but I don't even feel like yapping about it because the support's been incredible today. W. David. People who are here at the beginning know what I'm talking about. But we're going to talk to the Chicago Ferrets. Is that a sports team? I don't follow sports. Hello, how old are you?
Hi, I'm, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Okay, good. I'm 34.
34, so. Are you a friendly?
I am a friendly. If you want to talk to somebody else that's not, that's totally fine, and I can hop off.
Queue's empty. Everybody's barbecuing today. Let's chat. What's up?
So I'm trying to figure out, I think we've talked before. I know you talked to a ton of people. So just my question is I need just like a little setup. It's not going to take long. So I grew up in Texas, spent 30 years of my life in Texas. I think we've talked before about, was talked about how I felt the system was fucked. And anyway, I am at the point with my parents. I love them to death. I came out. It didn't go well. I'm a lesbian, obviously. It didn't go well. And I just decided, fuck it. I graduated, moved across the country to Chicago. I love it here. It's, Trump hates it, and that makes me like it a little bit more, to be honest with you. But I'm at the point with my parents where I don't know. Okay, so here's my question. At what point with conservative individuals do you reach the point of just, I cannot reason with this person, I cannot change their mind, there is not going to be productive dialogue, and it's not worth trying? Like, that's my question.
When it comes to people who are in your personal life, it's this battle of two things, right? It's like how much you value that relationship weighed against how likely success is. And I can only help with one half of that equation. So that's the first thing I have to say to everybody is, I don't know how much it would hurt you to give up. I don't know how much that relationship really means to you, because everybody's relationship with their parents is a little bit different. Everybody's relationship with everybody in their life is a little bit different. So I can't offer any specific advice there. But, the chat arrived at one of the strategies, which is to avoid politics with them and salvage what of the relationship remains without it. It doesn't sound to me like that's the type of advice you're looking for. Am I right in assuming that?
I mean, kind of. Here's the thing. If it was just politics, I would totally agree. The issue is, at what point does politics become human rights, and at what point does politics,
Well, I agree with you that politics is so fundamental. It's like what people used to say, you don't talk about politics on a date, you don't talk about politics at the dinner table. And my entire life have been saying, why the fuck not? It's like the most important thing. It's like talking about it's more important than the weather. Like, it's going to stop raining tomorrow, but Trump will still be the president.
It's who you are. It's the level of empathy and compassion you have for people that are not necessarily in your exact, like, my biggest thing is that a lot of people on the right, it seems like, and I don't mean to generalize everyone, because I also have issues, to be honest, with the left saying that the right is stupid. That's part of the reason that the right feels so aggressive and hateful and angry, I think, is because we've demonized them all as just uneducated hicks, and that's not okay either. But I also feel like, at a certain point, there is a level of empathy that you can have for people that are, and we saw it with COVID, like people that are experiencing things that we may not be directly impacted by, and empathizing with anyway. Yeah, that's my.
I'm sure from watching the show, you know that I think that way. Like if somebody believes in Trump because they are genuinely uneducated or unintelligent, I'm just not. I have some compassion for that, and I want to try to address that. I think that description is such a large proportion of the country. It'd be really inadvisable for us to go about it any other way. So I can respect that type of compassion, but I think in terms of I haven't dealt with it with family because I come from a liberal family and I grew up in a liberal place. So all my lifelong friends are generally pretty liberal people. It's just kind of what happens growing up as a theater kid in New York, right? Which is how I grew up. But now, I'm especially with like a little bit of notoriety and some people in my life who've maybe been following me on Instagram longer than I've been on TikTok, who are like, why does Oskar have 80,000 Instagram followers? Like it's starting to bleed into my personal life where some people will come after me in person, in public, about what I talk about online. And the line that I've been drawing, and maybe this is like the strategy I can offer to you is one that's worked for me, is that I've told a couple people in my personal life that if they still think that illegal immigrants commit more murders on average than American citizens, I'm unwilling to talk about anything involving politics with them. Because if you're not willing to recognize basic facts, I don't feel like wasting my time and personal energy and damaging our relationship by arguing about this stuff. I do it 2 hours a day. You know my stance on all these things, but like that's a really basic myth. That's a falsehood. That is a tabloid bullshit made up fucking scapegoat piece of nonsense. And if you can't convince somebody by politely pointing out that every single study of criminality involving illegal immigrants says the exact opposite, that they're far less criminal than United States citizens, obviously you don't have to pick that particular example of a mistruth. You can pick something that's really important to the particular person that you're trying to make way with. But I have put up that boundary before of saying we disagree so fundamentally on such a basic fact here. I don't think it's constructive for us to talk about anything.
And it's just sad to me because again, I was born in the 90s, but I've really done some research on like the Republican Party and the conservatives. And it seems like, back when, I don't know, like before the Vietnam War, it seems like it was much more, it truly was about small government and about, like supporting the people. We were in Appalachia, I think about with the anti-company towns and the labor unions. And like, it's just, I wonder at what point the conservative, I wouldn't even say party, but the conservative side of the aisle has just completely shifted to be a fascist regime. And I don't think it was just Trump. I think this has been going on for longer. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, yeah.
So I agree that Trump is really a symptom of something that's been brewing, I could say, not just in the Republican Party, but in American politics for decades and decades now. Like when I really talk about the perspective I have on the shift in American politics that's happened since World War II, just kind of in like the longest living memory that we have. We had all this, we had the Great Depression, we had some policies that addressed that, and then we had a war, which was, not our fault, but we had to participate in, and we did, and we helped win the war, and that's great. And then we came back, and we had this interesting situation where the government had taken over much of the industry in this country, and we did such a good job leveraging that state of affairs to make America great because we kept the corporate tax rate very high. We kept the highest tax brackets very, very high. I think it was 1950. It peaked out at 90%. That 90% tax rate that us crazy democratic socialists say would be reasonable. We actually did that during the baby boomer era that created the privilege that makes boomers such privileged brats about the country that they grew up in, because the government was busy building highways and stuff when they were growing up, and their families, their parents were busy starting businesses that benefited from all that new infrastructure and all this public policy that was being funded by super duper high tax rates. And once we had that prosperity, therein became the problem, where those who were going to win on that capitalistic playing field that was created by that state of affairs are people who are going to take control of politics with their money and work to erode away the rights of the poor people and erode away the systems that benefit poor people by taking advantage of how well everybody at the top is doing with those high tax rates. So for decades and decades, we've been eroding away the tax rates, making them smaller and smaller at the top, lowering them even further by lowering the effective tax rate by using loopholes to get around taxes, giving more rights to corporations than we give to people. So there's been this long process that has ended up in the state of affairs where money controls politics. Billionaires get to decide what gets said on the television and what the politicians support, which bills they do. And you fast forward on that, then shows up some particular asshole around which everybody can form their cult of personality and say, okay, now we can start doing the fascistic work of getting people to believe in this person instead of the Constitution Constitution instead of the values that we founded the country for, to promote the public welfare. That's been going on for a long time. The asshole that was needed happened to beat Trump, which is why it's not going to matter if he dies of heat stroke this afternoon. The person who replaces him is just going to be a more competent version of himself that isn't going senile.
And that's the part that's frustrating to me, because when people say things about, hoping he's gone, first of all, I mean, I don't disagree, but I also think that just alienates. But second of all, yeah, you're right. And unfortunately, we're going to probably get somebody in if something were to happen to Trump, we would get somebody in there that's actually more competent. And that's the scary part is I think so I guess my question to you, and I won't take too much of your time, but I just, I'm still kind of in this place where I know that there are methods for us to get into a better a place as a country, not just economy, but also just, human rights and things like that. But I also, part of me is just so, I don't know, defeated. And I know that that's what they want. I know that's the point, is to feel defeated. But I guess at a certain point you have to say, yes, there are methods, there's voting but at what point do we say, I don't know. I guess I just feel like, are we actually realistically going to get out of this situation? Or I don't know. I'm just feeling defeated by the whole thing.
Well, and that's the concern I have about the midterms. I don't want people to be apathetic about their vote, because I feel like it's the last chance we have to save democracy in this country, which is why I push so hard for it. And I think we should fight like hell to make that happen. And if we fail, I think my messaging is going to change, because I think that if the Republicans maintain control of the legislative branch after the midterms, America's in fucking trouble. Because the next step, we know what the next steps are in this process this decades-long process that I just described. It's laid out in the Project 2025 handbook, and we can look at the examples of world leaders who've done these sorts of things in their own countries over the course of the 20th century, and even a couple of them in the 21st century. People like Putin in the 21st century, people like Netanyahu in the 21st century. But I think people know the names I'm talking about from the 20th century. We have Hitler, we have Stalin, we have Mussolini. We have some pretty bad characters who maybe had some interesting ideals early on, but they definitely abused those ideologies to get public support. And then use that public support to do the greatest evils that we've seen in living memory. So I'm fucking terrified. Well, but we do have a chance to say this is enough. Let's stop this here.
Yeah, and I think that it must be hard for someone in your position where on one hand, you have your own personal feelings, but you also have a platform, right? And so it's like, I can imagine being in that position and feeling defeated myself, but recognizing that people listen to me and that I, can kind of influence. So I imagine that, I don't know, I can see myself in that position battling that constantly.
Well, I'm not going to lie to the people who watch my show. Like, I'm concerned about what happens next for America if we lose, which is why I want to fight so hard to win. Because if the Republicans win the midterms in some meaningful way, right? Like, who wants to be the person who says that they didn't vote in that election when things go really south, right? Like, you couldn't bother getting your ass off the couch. Like, that's all I'm asking of the communists and the leftists who think that the whole system is broken. Like, if you think it's so broken and you don't care, can you just do me the personal favor of getting the fuck up off the couch and going and voting so that we can just at least say that we fucking tried to not hand America to the fascists?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that if there's any, what gives me hope, what gives me actual hope is that I have had the same political perspective roughly my entire life. I've changed on a couple of things, like I was headstrong about some stuff when I was a teenager and I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, and I got a better education and I've come around. But my general policy about this no nonsense approach to politics, where I really care pragmatically about what can happen, I think we're coming to a place where the effects of this fascistic rise in America, the Trump administration currently, but also the decades of work leading up to it, we're getting to a point where the effects of it are starting to be noticeable to anybody who's willing to look. We talk about the frog in the hot water, where you put the frog in the boiling water and it jumps out and it goes, that's fascism, I don't want that. But if you slowly turn up the temperature, the frog doesn't notice that it's being boiled. We're at a point where the water's hot enough where maybe we can ask the frog, water's getting a bit hot, isn't it? Maybe check the temperature, you idiot, because we're not talking about about frogs. We're talking about voters. So I think that the pollsters are going to be wrong about the midterms. And when I say wrong, I don't mean in favor of this party or that party. I think they're going to be inaccurate because they have never experienced this sort of turmoil in modern American politics. Never have we had a situation where the rules are being violated so flagrantly. Never have we had a situation where an entire genre of content, which is the everyday political commentator like myself, are suddenly household names. It's like the fact that most people in my life know who Dean Withers is gives them a litmus test for knowing what it is I'm up to, where I say, yeah, I'm doing the Dean Withers thing. And they're like, oh, cool. How big are you? And I can give them some numbers, but then I can say something like, well, Dean let me co-host his show for an hour. And that's meaningful to them. The fact that we're in a state of affairs where people are talking more about this, I think that political discourse is truly on the rise. And I think it's very, very meaningful that people are fighting against the tides of social media. TikTok doesn't want us to be successful, but they'll take our money. So when you send me a donation on TikTok goes, okay, we'll let Oskar stay on the platform because he's making money for us. So thanks for the gifts, everybody. Keeps me platformed for now.
I guess the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you go because I think there's somebody else in the queue. I'll just talk about really quickly. Like I said, I grew up in Texas. I was a Southern Baptist, a Church of Christ even when I was little. I read the Bible every day. I gotta be honest. In high school, I said the N-word casually. I was not a good person. I was very, very, very far right. I was very racist. And I think over time, I was around a bunch of racist, horrible people. And I don't know. I don't know what shifted other than I read the Bible cover to cover. And again, I know that religion is not, but honestly, with the conservative side, it is tied very closely with, especially now. But I realized that the compassion and the love and the empathy and all of those things that I, read and again, I'm an atheist at this point, but I guess I realized that was missing. And I went out and researched, and I'm going to sound very dated and old here, but The Amazing Atheist. I found him and I found his college. I have issues with him now, but whatever. All that to say, kind of going back to the very beginning of this, is that I think that there is a case for people can change, and they really, if you approach it in a way that's compassionate and kind and not abrasive, and you don't treat them as if they're stupid, and you don't treat them as if, and to be honest, we have treated the South, especially being from Texas and seeing how people talk about conservatives up here, and it's a different climate now, but we talk about the South as if they're all stupid and unintelligent and they didn't go to college and they, and I think sometimes it's so much so, granted some of it's deserved, but so much so that a certain percentage just builds resentment, and you can't break through those lines. And so if I didn't have people in my life when I was in early college and late high school that were compassionate and kind to me on the other side of the aisle, and if I didn't discover my sexuality, I don't think that I would be where I'm at. And so I guess that's my final thing I'll say is that, and kind of a soapbox, but to people listening or whatever, is just to try to understand and be compassionate and kind, because that's how you're going to make progress and change with someone.
Yeah. I preach compassion on the show, and I can let that be the final note. Thanks for hopping up.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good day. Happy 4th. Bye.
Yeah, and on the voter turnout thing, I always try to point out, I guess I haven't recently enough, I should say it now, is that we had this incredible voter turnout in 2020 because it was a referendum on Trump. People saw Trump's performance in his first term and thought, oh shit, this is bad. And then we had this crazy turnout, more votes than ever. And that's how Trump won, or Biden won by such a landslide, certainly in the popular vote. And then people got complacent because Biden was a boring president who did the things that we needed to do to, defeat inflation after the pandemic. Those sorts of things don't make the headlines, but he did do a great job at all that. That doesn't get people fired up to vote, though, which is why Trump won again. Round 2. This is the new referendum on Trump. It's such an emergency, this referendum on Trump, that we're not even going to wait for the next presidential election. We're recognizing that it's the midterms that people need to focus on in that way, which is why I have some hope that this is going to be the most incredible midterms turnout ever. Not only is I think that's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious to me it's going to be by a wide margin, assuming they don't pass any major voter disenfranchisement bills. I'm assuming the SAVE Act doesn't pass in some form, something like that. So yeah, I have some hope that we the people are going to turn out in November. But I've been saying it for months. My tone will change if we fail. So I'm holding on to that for now. That's what the show's about until November. We'll see what the show's about after that. Wumbo. Is Wumbo a friendly? I don't remember. Wumbo, let me know in the chat if you're friendly. We've got like 15 minutes left, so I would like to, if we got a quick debate in, I think is that the first debate today? Does anything that happened today count as a debate? I really don't think so. Linktree in the bio if you want to support the show, but let's talk to Wumbo and see what he has to talk about. He or she. W Scout. Hello, Wumbo. How old are you?
Hi, I am 30.
Are you a Trump supporter?
I am not.
All right. Well, we're doing a friendly episode today because nobody wants to debate. So what's up?
Cool. Yeah, we spoke once before, maybe like a week ago. I was the guy who called in and said, I'm trying to sell my house, but I might keep it as a rental. But I have
that's right. Yeah. We just super quick, and we basically said it'll be a little evil for you to be a landlord. Maybe better to just sell it, even though that would hurt your wallet. And we kind of agreed that ethically, that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, that's exactly where I stand. And at the end of that conversation, I mentioned that you inspired me to get a pocket constitution. And I was wondering if it's okay with you. The theme of the day kind of seems to be democracy and Independence Day. And in this pocket constitution, there's also a pocket Declaration of Independence. And if it's all right with you, there's a couple lines in here that I just wanted to read because I think we can draw some parallels to today's government.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hear it.
I was reading this earlier today, and, why did we declare independence? We want to pursue life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and we felt that King George at the time was keeping us from this. And the Founding Fathers listed a few reasons why they thought King George was keeping us from this, and I just want to read this real quick. All right, in reference to King George. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. Now, if I'm interpreting this correctly, what it's saying is King George is saying, no, you're not passing laws that are going to help the people until you consent to my power, me being in charge. And this is a little similar to what's going on with Trump refusing to sign that housing reform bill until the Save America Act is passed. If I'm interpreting that correctly, what do you think about that?
I think that's a great comparison, and I think that if we're going to get a little more flexible about exactly which mechanisms of control we're talking about, Trump does that sort of thing all the fucking time. I would argue another good example of that type of behavior is him filing for executive orders that he obviously has no authority to write, and then threatening states by withholding financing if they don't obey them, which he also doesn't have the authority to do. He's misusing the levers of control that he has in the same way that the Declaration of Independence was describing happening in Europe. And it goes back to what I say all the fucking time on this show. We started the country to avoid this type of situation. That's why the Founding Fathers would be pissed. I had that as my prompt the other day.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I just have two more lines I want to read. And
let's hear them. It's Independence Day. Let's read the Declaration of Independence. I love it.
Yeah, and I just, if there's any Trump supporters listening, I just want you to keep in mind that this is being read from the document that was created when we said as a country, we had enough. We can't have this tyrant telling us what to do. We deserve life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. And just think about these things. All right. He has erected a multitude of new offices. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. Now, when I think about this, I think about Doge a little bit, right? He created this new office to eat out the substance of the people, to take care of social programs that he didn't agree with. Right? Things that benefit millions of people. He kind of created this office to eat out their substance, to use the money for, God knows what. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
How do you interpret?
It's the same exact answer. We can read these founding documents and then just play, spot the similarity with Trump. And it's egregious that it isn't. Well, it's egregious that it's not only more obvious to people because they're not educated about what these documents say, but then we're in this situation where there's no telling them that. You can read that to a Republican and they don't care. They don't care that it's obvious according to the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution that what Trump is doing is completely un-American. But that's the situation that we're in, is trying to combat that it can be that obvious to the letter of our founding documents that what's happening is bad.
Yeah. And I just got one more here. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators, This is something he's doing with ICE, with the National Guard, sending them into cities to quote unquote control, out of control crime. I mean, I don't know how you can read this and not draw the similarities of what's going on today.
Well, to give a more meaningful answer than just I agree, I think that what is happening is specifically this movement against intellectualism. I think that the Republicans have done a really good job making a lot of academic pursuits seem taboo. So even developing a vocabulary strong enough to interpret those sorts of documents is becoming taboo, which means that the only people who are going to be interpreting them for such constituents are the people at the top who are just telling them what they say, which is how you end up with people saying, no, the Constitution says this, the Constitution means that. And then we, as people who are literate, can say, no, it fucking doesn't say that. It says the fucking opposite. What are you talking about? Oh, well, they meant this. No, they didn't. The Supreme Court has ruled that that's not what they meant. What are you talking about? But somebody pointed out in a video where I was dunking on this guy for saying that Kamala Harris was inarticulate, and there was a comment under it. I said it was because he was misogynistic and racist, but somebody had such a good alternative for why he thought Kamala Harris was inarticulate that I pinned it as the comment under the short video that I uploaded about it, because they said that Kamala Harris has such a long resume of complicated jobs, being a lawyer, an attorney general, a senator, like all these impressive roles. Her vocabulary is excellent. She's a good speaker. She talks about complicated things. And if you're unable to understand complicated things, a conversation about complicated things sounds like word salad. Which is one of the reasons why people say that she's doing word salad when she talks. It's one of the things I think about on this show. I can sound like a Philbro. I could use the technical term for everything. The show wouldn't be successful if I did, so I don't. I try to be more of an everyman. I try to speak to the people. And I think maybe I can judge her performance as a candidate for failing to do that, but I still recognize that the bigger problem here is that we have a bunch of people who've been told that if you can't understand somebody, it's necessarily because they're a doofus and not maybe because you're not educated enough to understand them. And some things are just fucking complicated. People ask me, what is socialism? What is communism? And I'm sorry, dude, I don't have a 4-word answer that sorts that out for you. It's kind of a paragraph what socialism is. It's kind of a paragraph what communism is. If you want to know the difference, that's another paragraph, because they look kind of similar if we look at the basic paragraph for each of them. So people are just unwilling to engage intellectually. People's attention spans are getting shorter. Right. So if you try to engage with them, that the fuse elapses on their attention span, and that's offensive. People go, "Where's my dopamine? Now I'm upset." So never mind what we're talking about. I'm just going to be upset because you're making me pay attention for more than 11 seconds to understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's definitely a sad reality. Yeah.
It's the biggest problem fundamentally is that people's brains are not working in a way that's good for democracy, and we need to address that, and the people weaponizing that fact, of course.
I completely agree. And I just want to say, if you are a Trump supporter, you're out there, you're watching Oscar's show, get to the source itself. Read the Constitution, read the Declaration of Independence. If you don't understand something, take the time, look up definitions. No hate. I don't want to hate on people who aren't educated about this stuff. I wasn't educated on this stuff until not that long ago. But I think if you take the time to read these documents and then think about what's going on today, just realize the whole idea behind the No Kings movement. I have a good friend of mine, but he's a Republican, and he said, why is it no kings? Who's trying to be king? I said, look, if you read these documents, you will realize the things that Donald Trump is doing is effectively, they all serve to install himself as a king. So that's why the movement's named after that. And, if you do consider yourself to be an American and a patriot and you stand for American ideals, you got to realize what's going on right now are the very things that we fought about from day one. We tried to fight against these ideals from day one. And it's just really important that we all kind of unify as a people and understand this stuff. And I think that's what Oscar's about. That's why I like your show a lot, man. It's
and you're right. Yeah, cool it's all of that is so much more important than any particular wedge issue. That's so much more important than abortion. That's so much more important than trans rights. That's so much more important than gun control for to pick one that people on the left are concerned about. None of that shit matters if we fail the mission statement of the country, which is basically no kings and public welfare. That's what the country's for, right? If we read the preamble of the Constitution is something I've been bringing up a lot lately, because it says that the government's supposed to exist to promote the public welfare. So how is it that the party that so respects the Constitution is suddenly upset about the government promoting public welfare? Yeah, they were onto something. They recognized that never mind the particular politics of the time, it's all for naught if the power gets consolidated, and that's really what we need to fundamentally avoid. Regardless of what we're doing to promote the public welfare, whether it's some socialist ideologies or like, maybe we have enough splendor and prosperousness hundreds of years from now that we can do something that's more pure communist because there's just enough to go around and we have robots doing all the farming. Like maybe we can get to some sort of utopia. Doesn't matter. We'll figure it out as long as we don't let the power consolidate. Like that's fundamentally the mission statement of the country.
Absolutely.
That's more important than everything.
Not letting the power be consolidated, and also not letting the powers that be, whoever you may believe that is, divide us up. Because I feel, it's been said a million times, but we're being divided up. Oh, you're a different race, you're a different class, you make more money than this person, they're the enemy. I don't know. In my mind, I think powers that be want to create this division so that we do allow ourselves to slip into tyranny and give up our own, our own powers as the people. And I just think, like you said, it's really important we don't let that happen. It's really important that we just think about each other, think about the common person, your neighbor, and realize that not only when you and I talk about the stuff, are you fighting for your own ideals? You're fighting for the ideals of your neighbor, your children, and I think like that's what it is to be an American. We should all really be helping each other out as a common people. We the people, right?
Well, right. And that's like, sometimes that's the approach that I take in the debates. I'll say something like, hey, before we even talk about this, can we agree on like some just basic bullet point, what it means to be a patriot, what it means to be an American, like what the rules of governance are. And if the Republicans that you're talking to say no, well, then never mind our fucking conversation about abortion. Never mind our conversation about this or that. Like, if you're just unwilling to even engage with like American politics in the way that we're supposed to, according to the fucking Constitution, like, what are we talking about? Don't tell me you respect the Second Amendment if you don't respect the First. Don't tell me that you respect the Second Amendment if you don't care what the preamble says. Like, I'm just not interested at a certain point. So I try to like have that order of operations when I have these discussions with people. I think that's like super fundamentally important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I'll let you go. It's been really good talking to you. Last thing, if you ever do a gig again, I would love to come see you perform. I know you're getting a little big now, but I think that'd be really cool, man.
Message me privately. I do gigs. I just don't talk about it so much that I don't get assassinated. Shoot me a DM.
I totally understand. I've been watching you for a couple months when you were real small, and I probably should have messaged you then. Now you're getting a little big, but yeah, man, keep doing your thing. I'll send you. Where should I message you? Probably Instagram or something.
Instagram's the main one. Yeah, I read those most fastidiously.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good rest of your show and happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Tech's unfriendly. Are we gonna have a debate? Are we gonna do a debate, Jesse?
We certainly can try. We gotta get clips from somewhere.
Gotta get clips from somewhere. We're behind on clips. Maybe it's good if we have a friendly episode with no clips. There were clips. The beginning of this episode had clips. But we're gonna talk to Tech 1 MP, and I'll start as I always do by asking, how old are you? Oh, actually, hold on just a second. I should read some donors because it has been a minute. Because oh my gosh, Darius? I think it's Darius. It's spelled a little bit funny, but he sent me $55 on. Oh, you know what? He sent me. This is exciting. He sent me $55 to send to Ashley. I know who he's talking about, and I will forward that to Ashley. I will do that immediately. Remind me the moment we're off live. I'm going to forward that to Ashley. That's not for me. So W Darius for sending that to somebody who needs it, because we had a little bit of a mutual aid thing happen on the show the other day, but I will forward that. Thank you so much. And in addition to that, we've got a couple of YouTube super chats to read out. We have Vet Tech Kate, who said, as a vet tech, remember to keep your pets away from the fireworks and away from the food table at your parties, especially corn cobs. Yep, take care of your animals today. 4th of July is a hard day for dogs, as we learned at the beginning of the stream, because Noodle's anxious today because there's a lot of fireworks in my neighborhood. Jazz sent me $5 to say one of my housemates is a tanky style communist, and when I found out about it, I was fucking livid. I hope that they actually vote, but I have doubts. Yeah, gotta vote, people. Geo sent me $2 on YouTube super chat to say, who is in your Democratic nightmare green stuff rotation? I'd have to think about that. I don't know. Is Jimmy Carter still alive? Anyway, Kronos sent me $2 to say W Mods, Oscar and Jesse, also W Ravin too. Yep, W staff. There's people working on the show. Hell's Pacifist said for $5 on YouTube Super Chat, shout out to the mods, keeping the chat moving, top tier engagement, and just awesome people. I appreciate all of you. W chat for the good combos. Absolutely. Everybody who contributes to the show in any way, because it's so fucking many people. I can't even list the different groups of people who are helping out. It's incredible. Sorry for the interruption, Tech1MP. How old are you?
Hey, I'm 46. How you doing?
Doing all right. Are you a Trump supporter?
Depends on the policy. I don't know. I didn't really vote for the guy because I like the guy.
Well, sure, and I get that answer a lot when I ask, but just to be clear, like if the election was held tomorrow, would you vote for him again?
I don't know. There's a bit of regret in my vote, to be honest with you. But that's happening on that side of the fence quite a bit right now. So there's a little bit of a schism between like America First versus MAGA and the nuances in that. But there was something that you said earlier that you were talking about that kind of got me thinking about a couple concepts, and I wanted to run it by you and see what your thoughts were.
Okay,
we can go that direction. The public welfare as part of our democracy or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's in the preamble of the Constitution. It's like one of the purposes of the government is to promote public welfare. So I just find it kind of unusual that Republicans are so against welfare programs, because it's why the government exists.
Right. And so that got me thinking, though. Okay, so I'm like, the interpretation of public welfare, right? So are you familiar with the liberal idea of the state being a night watchman versus the idea of the moral state?
Yeah, the idea that the government is supposed to stop problems, not fix them.
Yeah. So the night watchman is the idea that the government is there to uphold liberties and apply the law equally to all people and all on an individual basis, right? And then you have the idea of the moral state, which various folks have been fond of that one. And that's the idea that the government is supposed to be like a type of moral social arbiter, loosely translating anyway.
I guess. Sorry, so I'll let you finish. What was the end of your thing?
Well, I was going to say at some point, when you come to the situation where you have welfare programs becoming like this idea of like a what is it, like a right is a liberty without duty kind of thing, or close to that? Like at what point do social programs become the state acting as a social moral arbiter, which is antithetical to the liberal principle? And what were your thoughts on this thing? These two die.
Well, I guess what, if some of those things are antithetical to the liberal principle, I just don't care, because I don't actually value the liberal principle all that like fastidiously to like mind that that's happening. But I think that what we're getting at is that I can point to something like HDI, Human Development Index, and say that this is a good measure of how good a job a local government is doing of supporting the public welfare. But people point out, the HDI measures things that are based in your morals. Why do we care about the things that the HDI measures? Now, I actually argue that if you look at the list of the things that the HDI measures, you have to be an asshole to not call it a perfectly good list of measuring societal well-being, because it just measures pretty obvious measures of societal well-being. And if we stack rank the countries by HDI, the ones at the top are countries that it's nice to live in, and the ones at the bottom are countries that it's not nice to live in. So I guess I just get to this point of saying we can establish a goal, like maybe it's good for people to be able to feed their children. And where exactly does it become moral arbitration to achieve that goal with public policy?
And I think where that comes into question is how that thing is achieved, right?
Well, it sounds to me like you're concerned about us making sure that people can feed their kids even if they don't deserve it, which is not something that I understand very well.
Well, I don't know about deserve or not, but I think it's about how if you are charging the state with this thing as a moral duty, the method by which the state makes this thing manifest in society, how that's done is really the question, right? Should it be done through taxation and redistribution, or should it be done by the state having a responsibility to create a better economic system so people can achieve those things through self-determination? Does that make sense?
Why not both?
Because if you have one, you don't necessarily need the other.
Yeah. I mean,
if
I have a hamburger, I don't necessarily need a side of fries. I still want both.
Right. You can still want both, but like if I can buy my own hamburger and my own fries through my own labor, then why should the state be obligated to provide a hamburger and fries to me through taxation of other people's income?
Because people who don't get to eat fries have an effect on society that's negative compared to the effect of people who do have fries. So society becomes better if we give them fries, especially because they might share them with their kids who didn't do anything to not be able to afford to eat.
No, and I'm not totally opposed to, any kind of, I'm not opposed to any kind of like social programs, obviously, because there's been times in my life where I've needed those things as well, and I'm glad they were there, and I'm glad that as a
what's your argument?
The argument is
to clarify a little bit, because to make sure I'm understanding, like we could say that like the government could do something like make the education system better, and that would make people more intelligent, make them more able to get a job that pays for their life, so they're less likely to need something like SNAP benefits. And then SNAP benefits are us just solving the problem with money, saying, oh, you can't afford food, here's money to buy food. Am I like, those are kind of the two different types of solutions that we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess in terms of getting to the outcome that we want, they're both contributors to the very same thing. I keep pointing out the fact that SNAP benefits are so good for children who did nothing wrong. But what about all the people who didn't get a good education because the education was shittier in the past than it is now? Did we say, I'm sorry, you were born too early, go fuck yourself? We're not going to pay for the outcome of the fact that we didn't have these better social programs when you were a kid. Like, that also just seems silly, especially in consideration of the fact that regardless of which type of program we're talking about, the money is well spent in terms of dividends paid to America through success and prosperity of Americans.
Right. And you see that same kind of argument when it comes to the idea of like, paying off student loans, right? Like I'm totally fine with student loan forgiveness.
That's exactly the argument. You've pointed out, you've clocked me exactly. That's precisely the argument I use for student loans. I don't care that the system used to be bad and a bunch of people had to pay their loans. Just why not make it better going forward?
My caveat to that would be like, something akin to like, well, if we do pay off student loans, because really, making Americans and our education to produce Americans that are more competitive in the global workplace, I think is a duty that we should, as a society, take up. My caveat to something like that would be that, the loan repayments would only be for American citizens, for instance, things of that nature, to discourage any kind of like education tourism and things. But besides that, my greater point, I guess, was kind of at what point do we say, this is the ceiling at which we our moral duty to welfare is met, versus it continuing on into greater and greater expansionary programs and things like that. Like, where do we say?
Yeah. That was very interesting what you just said, because you're talking about the ceiling, and what we can point out, like, let's not look forward for a moment. Let's look backwards. We used to not give school to people for free, right? Right. Okay. We used to not give the fire department to people for free. You used to have to pay the fire department, and if you didn't have the right plaque on the corner of your building, they'd let it burn.
Right.
So we've raised the ceiling by saying, you know what? We should pay for the fire department. We should pay for compulsory education until people are about 18 years old. We've made some improvements. And then when we have those sorts of things, we can ask what's next. And when we ask what's next, that's us raising the ceiling. Why are you trying to figure out where the ceiling belongs instead of raising it?
Because it's at what point does it become exploitative, right? To the society as a greater whole, through things like taxation and redistribution. Because you could at some point you can say, okay, well, the ceiling is no longer set at like people receiving welfare benefits because of their low income status being X. Now it's food is a universal right and should be provided by the state, and then there you go.
That's good.
Nation's at 60%. How is that good?
Do you think it's exploitative that people's taxes pay for schools even if they don't have kids?
To a degree, I think there should be. There shouldn't be no taxation, obviously, because even if they don't have kids, they benefit from a society of educated people, right?
Right, and I would argue that's the same for feeding and housing people, which are things that maybe in the next few decades we can start doing for free. What's the difference?
The difference is how it's gone about and the amount at which it is pursued.
No, but the amount is ever increasing because the amount of prosperity in the country, the amount of productivity per person goes up with the advent of technology. So with that more technology, we go, we can tax people more without taking away their basic needs because everybody at the top's getting fed. So there was a time in history where we started doing that with the fire departments. There's a time when we started doing that with schools. There's a bunch of interesting stuff the government has gotten up to that just was expensive shit that promotes the public welfare.
Mm-hmm.
I don't at all understand. Like, do you agree that over the next 100 years, we should add to the list of things that we do for free as government programs? Like currently it involves things like schools and police and fire departments. Like maybe we can add some things to it that's the course of history. Or do you think that we should just get to a point where it's like, nah, fuck you. You don't get health care.
I don't think that those are the extremes. I think that the alternative to ever increasing government welfare programs would be, do we get to a point where do we hold the state's feet to the fire to say, hey, either we increase government welfare programs in an expansionist way, or we hold the feet of the state to the fire and say, hey, it's your job to make sure that we don't have to rely on you because the economy is good, because housing costs are low, because, does that make sense?
No, it really doesn't. Like I feel like these are the same complaints that people had when we tried to publicize the fire department, when we tried and succeeded. Same thing with schools, like same with all these other social programs, same with Social Security, same with all these expensive things that we do. People said, oh no, we're taking money away from people who earned it and giving it to people who didn't. But we, with the clarity of hindsight, can recognize that those were good things to do. How are you not able to package that hindsight into foresight and say, ooh, how exciting, this works so well, what should we fund next?
Because at some point, making it the job of the state becomes a situation where you become reliant on the state.
Right, we are already reliant on the state. Most people don't homeschool their kids; they send them to a school that's paid for by the state. So we are. Like, are you suggesting that you're not reliant on the state? I'm reliant on the state. The state provide, get like this. There's state programs that provide me with. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm saying the amount at which we as a society are reliant on the state versus self-reliance or community reliance.
Yeah, but we can build those programs. Like one of the things that happens when you give people these things like housing and food and education and fire departments is that communities get more strong and people are able to learn self-reliance like in an educational environment instead of out of desperation. And I still think that that's yet further improvement. Like I'm not understanding why this is bad.
Well, my contention is, can these improvements not be made by public apparatus that does not involve, the state's bureaucratic hand on it?
Nope. History has told us that the answer to that question is very simply no.
Okay. So you would agree with the tenet of a moral state?
Well, I think that the difficulty I have with the moral state is that you're saying that the state is assigning morals to things when what we're actually talking about is the state providing for people's needs and the things that cause people to...
That the state acts as a moral arbiter on society.
Well, I think to say that to say that it's... is it really up for debate whether or not kids deserve to eat? Like, is that so egregious a moral stance? Like, what the fuck?
No, it's not. It's not whether or not kids deserve to eat. It is whether or not kids should be able to eat because the state has decided to tax everyone much more, or should kids be able to eat because their parents can now afford to feed them without the help of the state?
I just kind of like, if I'm going to say that if I'm going to say that the state is being the arbiter of morals for doing that, I would also argue that the state is the arbiter of morals for everything else that they do. So I just don't understand what's so, like, why is that such a red flag for you about these particular things when you're totally okay with the things in the past that we've done on that trend? But then I can also just expand it and say, like, I think we all agree that the reason that murder is bad is because it's immoral to murder somebody. And the state has arbitrated that. So, like, that, yes, the state is the arbiter of morals on that, because the state is the authority that creates consequences for you if you murder somebody. Like, I just don't understand, like, I don't understand what's different about forgiving student loans or making college free or creating universal basic income eventually or providing housing for people who don't have it. Like, I don't understand what's so different about these things we don't have yet as compared to the things that we already do.
Because one is about the opportunity to access through self-reliance, and the other is about the state just coming in saying, like, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it.
I don't accept that argument at all. What exactly, like, was it better when people were having to educate their kids through self-reliance as opposed to a public program? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. No, but at some point would this, okay, so here's an example that we could use to kind of, illustrate the point. At some point, would it be unequitable to allow for the continued use of, like, private schooling under this rubric? No, because the benefits just keep coming.
Okay.
Like the reason that, like, people get to specialize and do incredible things is because they have the availability to. Like, there was a time when it was all self-reliance and you had to toil the fields with your immediate family to survive, and nobody had any time to come up with interesting new technology. The new technology that we saw develop during that time is only stuff that made that labor easier. People made contraptions that they could use to till the fields by having a donkey pull a thing, a plow or whatever. Like that was the sort of technological advancement that we saw. It's only when people started having free time that we started inventing, like, really cool things like iPhones and refrigerators.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Looking at the graph for productivity versus wages, that's a black filling graph for sure.
Right. So I'm saying that we can continue. Like, here. Imagine 100 years from now. Let's hypothetically say 100 years from now, all of the actual, like, boring manual labor that almost nobody wants to do, all of that is being done by robots, right? All of the farming is being done by robots. All of the turning trees into 2x4s is being done by robots. All of the planting the seeds for the trees that we're going to turn into 2x4s 30 years from now, all of it's done by robots. Yeah. Yeah, so in that situation, I could imagine here's what life is like. Instead of going to school and having to get a job and make it, which is what it is right now, where you have this big question mark about whether or not you're going to be able to make it. What if just everybody did make it? You go to school, you learn how to be a person, you learn about all the history about the dark times, and then when you turn 18, you get a free apartment because that's what the government offers you. And you don't have to work if you don't want to, because you can go to the grocery store with your little citizenship card or whatever the fuck it is and just swipe it and they'll just give you food. So you just get to live your life doing whatever the fuck you please because the robots are feeding us and building the homes. And what we find is that when you let people do that, some of them sit on their ass and do nothing. W those people, I guess, but a bunch of them get up to really cool stuff like making art and music and movies and new technology and pushing that ceiling ever farther higher. Like, if we had enough productivity, if we had enough robots to do the work for us, would you agree that that would be a good state of affairs?
In some fields, yes. In some fields, no.
From what angle would that be bad?
Because at some point it limits the ability for people to take on a self-reliant role outside of
no, but in this situation we have so much time and space and money and prosperity that we can actually just design school. Like, one of the things we would really consider important in schools in this utopia I'm describing is self-reliance. Maybe part of school is, you do that month where you go into the wilderness with your instructor and you learn how to live off the land because that's important to being a human, and we don't want people to be completely fucked over if the power turns off. I'm not talking about making people dependent. I'm talking about making people prosperous, and along the way you can educate people. I've never needed to live off the land, but I have done it temporarily to learn self-reliance. I love going into the wilderness without a cell phone. It's not incongruent with the utopia I'm describing.
So I guess my question is there ever a place at which you say, X scenario or X amount of social welfare is too much?
No. I mean, in a local context, I could say that like it's too expensive because of what we need. But if it's not too expensive, then we should always do it. So my bottom line is that you can look at that utopia. It seems like you don't like the idea of the utopia. I like the idea of the utopia. The communists really like the idea of the utopia. I think that we can get there because technology is accelerating so quickly. How the fuck are we going to get there if we can't even agree that the next step is something like UBI or forgiving college loans or giving college to people for free or something like that?
Right. And see, that's what I was saying earlier about, I don't mind the idea of, the U.S. having free university as long as it's extended to citizens unlimited.
Fuck you for that, dude. Who the fuck cares, right? You're gonna throw away what the dream that I just described because you don't like that 3% of the people in the country are gonna get it who like aren't citizens. Like, what the fuck does it matter? Why be so selfish?
Because this university and these programs are paid for by the people's labor.
Yeah, so yes, and the net benefit would be enormous, whether or not it's just for citizens. So like, why are you so stuck on that? Why are you going to throw away generations of prosperity to feel better about how money is being spent? That makes you a bad person in my book.
I don't think it makes you a bad person.
Well, clearly, it's the type of person that you are. I'm saying that I think what you're saying makes me think that you're a bad person, that you think about it that way.
You're feel free to think that. But Neely brought up a point in chat that says, when everyone's needs are met. I guess that would be the thing, right? So like if everyone's needs are met, right, that speaks about a minimum threshold, right? It's the reason that we have things like welfare access being dependent on people's income.
Right, because we don't live in the utopia yet. We don't have the road. Like, it's not like we can just do everything for free for everybody with enough like prosperity in the government like that. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. Why don't you want, like, why do you think the ceiling needs to be limited somewhere? I just feel like you're butthurt about it for like a reason I totally can't understand.
Because at some point it becomes arbitrary. It becomes unnecessary taxation and spending for things that aren't needed. I mean,
then go live in the woods. Go away. Go away. We're going to work on a better government. You go live in the woods.
Or what are we doing? I
don't know. I don't understand. Like, what do you mean it becomes unnecessary? To the perspective of a person in the 1800s, compulsory education for children seems unnecessary.
I mean, Locke was arguing for it in the 1600s, so I don't know about that. But I think that there are, like education, there are certain places where you're like, okay, this is a benefit to everybody, and so everybody should chip in, even if they don't have kids, to some degree or another, right? But at some point, the government doesn't need to buy me a Maserati just because my neighbor has a Maserati.
Right, but if everybody already had free housing, and if everybody already had free food, and the government said, hey guys, we don't even know what to spend this money on because everybody's basic needs are met. How about we have a lottery where people will start getting free Maseratis? If we don't have anything else important to spend the money on, I might be like, fucking sure, that sounds fun.
Why not just let people keep their money then? If the government's like, we have so much money, we don't know what to do with it.
For the same reason that we don't all have a farm in our backyard, which is that the government is better at pooling money and benefiting from the economy of scale than individuals are. The government spends money better than people do. That's why.
I wouldn't agree with that, Tenno.
I'm sorry. Do you think that assigning a person in your household to be your personal firefighter is a better system than pooling the money and developing a fire department?
No, but I'm saying that a state bureaucracy is far more spendy and costs a lot more to be the apparatus that manifests whatever need an individual might require than the individual.
No, that's fucking ridiculous, dude. I'm not understanding how you think that people are better at spending money to benefit the public welfare than the government is. That is nonsense in my book. I need you to understand. I need you to show me that you understand my fireman analogy. You're suggesting, because like we already do the fire department, but we're talking about the next thing, and you're saying that instead of pooling our money and benefiting from economy of scale by creating a system that's efficient at benefiting everybody on average, whoever needs the help, maybe you don't use that program because you're not somebody who needs it, but it's available to everybody who needs it. You're saying it's a better system to have people have to pay for that shit themselves. Having people pay for shit themselves is never the better system. I don't think you understand economy of scale.
Well, the thing is, you're not talking about the fire department, right? The fire department is that minimum ceiling threshold, right? You're talking about like, you know, the government providing everybody their own personal firefighter because somehow there's a government in the future.
You misunderstood. I'm saying that you're saying the government shouldn't pool the money to provide firefighters for everybody. It's not a personal firefighter. It's that there's a team of firefighter who are everybody's firefighters because you don't use the firefighters all the time. So it's inefficient for you to have a personal firefighter. You're proposing a situation where you have to figure out your own personal firefighter, which is fucking silly.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Well, okay, hold on. You try to articulate your point. You think about it for a second. I'm going to thank a couple donors because we're running a little bit over, and I've been letting them pile up. Because we had, I think it was all the way back when Kronos was saying, thank the staff. Yeah, he sent that for $2, and then Hell's Pacifist was shouting out the mods, and then Kronos said, W Snake and Vicky for having my back with the homophobes and weirdos in the chat. They really don't like a gay man supporting Oscar, I guess. Yeah, you know, I do welcome the homophobes to the chat because they learn things, but yeah, don't be mean to Kronos. And yeah, W Snake and Vicky for having Kronos' back. Melissa sent me $5 to say, to the tune of the Oscar Mayer song, because Oskar Quentin has, wait, I don't even know the melody. What is it?
Neither do I.
I can't think of it.
Gen X, man.
Oh gosh. Anyway, I've deleted it from my childhood. Too many people saying that song to me. I'd have to learn it. But he says Oskar Quentin has a way with MAG and A, and then mods chat make the Oscar praxis mac and cheese delicious. I'll have to figure it out. I'm gonna save that one for later. And then Jazz sent $5 to say we have so much more than enough money for that utopia. We just have a bunch of people refusing to tax the people with 90% of the money in the world. You are technically right. We do have enough prosperity to do this sort of thing. It would just require such an aggressive redistribution of wealth that I don't think it's politically practical. So we can continue incrementing it, which is why I'm a democratic socialist. But anyway, thank you, Lucky Phil, for more cold coffees. Oh, does he mean that he's buying me a coffee on my email and I'm just not noticing it? He absolutely is. Thank you, Lucky Phil. He said, I played the Syndicate game series as a kid. LOL, no thanks. Synopsis. In the dystopian corporate-dominated world of the Syndicate, mega corporations control society through neural microchips embedded in the brain. The narrative primarily follows Miles Kilo, a bioengineered agent for the Eurocorp Syndicate, as he uncovers corporate conspiracies, memory wiping, and a war for global technological dominance. Hard pass. It's a long... I know it's long, but feel free to summarize or skip completely. No, Lucky Phil, I appreciate your contributions, so I need to remember to read those. I need to create like a notification deck for the donations so that I like actually keep track of them better when I'm on the show, because I'm fucking bad at it. Because Arax has sent me another $2 that I didn't see from 15 minutes ago that says the state is reliant on us and obligated to us. Yeah, I agree. I think that's... Oh, and then we've got... did I miss one from Jazz?
Nope, that was earlier chat.
That was earlier. Okay, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, okay, sorry, Tech. Yeah, I'm not understanding... I'm not understanding how you view the social programs we want through a different lens than the ones we already have. That's what I'm not at all understanding about your worldview.
I was arguing against your utopian idea, I guess, but I think that it's fair that we as a society, through the state or otherwise, maybe both would be great, have programs and opportunities for people who are not meeting minimum thresholds to be able to acquire those resources or those needs, right? Obviously. My contention is, at what point do we say, okay, those needs are met, this is the minimum that is required, and you're having those needs met. Now that might scale. Like if we actually get to this place where you're talking about where, robots do all the work and, we're just printing infinite money off of trees and the government's like, so it's
the fact that you think this is a situation where we have to print lots of money tells me you don't even understand how this would work.
I know that printing money is.
Well, it's just that money becomes a less important part of the equation, right? You used to need money for the fire department. You don't anymore, because the fire department shows up for free. Currently, you need money for the grocery store. For some people, we subsidize it. And we say you don't need as much money for the grocery store. Take this little plastic card that has fake money on it that we can swipe and they'll give you food. So we can do away with money in a lot of these important domains. We've done away with money for the fire department. That's good. We've done away with money, like sort of, for schools, because you have a public option. You can go to school for free. It's not going to be as good as a private school, but it's there. I think we should do away with money. Like, why do you need to have money in your pocket to get treated for like a healthcare emergency? Like, why? Like, if you break your arm, like your house can be on fire and a team of professionals will show up and put it out, but your body can be on fire and the team of experts who fix that, they bankrupt you? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Healthcare, I think there should be a minimum threshold for, like, you know, hey, healthcare needs aren't being met for some people. We should collectively be able to meet that. Like, that's not a problem. My problem is, again, where do we decide that the requirement and the needs have been met versus those needs always going up and up and up, and then next thing you know...
Do you know what hedonic satiation is?
What's that?
Do you know what hedonic satiation is?
No. I have an idea, but go ahead.
It's just this like human psychology thing that you can, like, whatever somebody's like standard of life is if you change it, they kind of go back to this equalized level, which is why people who have different incomes don't actually have terribly different like happiness levels. Like, there's like, if you're below poverty, you're pretty unhappy. But once you get your needs met, like once you can afford everything that you need to survive in the world, you can double your income and it might momentarily increase your happiness because it's so exciting and different, but you satiate to it. It normalizes and you go back to this level. So all I'm trying to say is that whatever like society currently accepts as that cutoff, like we kind of use the poverty line, which is an outdated characteristic because I think you need to be a lot higher than the poverty line to really make it in the current society. I'm just saying, like, whatever that level is above which it satiates, we should just give that to everybody.
Right. And I can also expand on that if, you know, our ability to create wealth goes up, then why not that, you know, ceiling should also rise, right? Maybe my grandchildren could have a state-funded Maserati.
Right, that's kind of my argument.
I mean, and I get that too. I mean, I've heard like I was saying earlier, that, you know, there's an argument for UBI in there. You know, at what point do AI and robots take over so many jobs that UBI becomes like, you know,
necessary?
Yeah, almost necessary. Exactly.
Right. You're making some sense now.
Mm-hmm. My contention is that there still needs to be a ceiling at which we go, okay, this is met, right?
But why?
It scales over time.
Why?
Why not?
Because people
should the state be entitled to 100% of my income? Like,
wait, what about 100% of your income?
Should the state be entitled to 100% of my income in the name of the public good?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so you believe there should be a ceiling at which the state provides things, because the state only provides things because they tax.
Oh, no, you're thinking that the percentage needs to keep going up for the capability of what the government can do with the money to continue to increase. You're forgetting the fact that technology progresses. We're talking about a lot of the benefit not coming from people's taxes, but potentially coming from automated systems as we get towards the utopia. I'm not suggesting that we have to keep notching the percentage up. That's silly.
Well, would that not be the case, though? I mean, if we create more wealth, why wouldn't we?
I'm actually just like we tax people higher in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and we were doing a lot of good with it. And if we were taxing people just the same rate as we were back then, then we'd be able to do so much more now because the technology has gotten better. I'm saying we should just go back to the way it was. Make America great again.
Well, and see, that's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, that having student loan.
Dude, you're talking to me. Why are you in the chat? Come on. Pay attention.
I was responding.
I know that. Pay attention. Eyes up here, buddy.
I'm multitasking.
Don't multitask on my show. There's 500 people watching.
I love all 500 of these people. But yeah, I don't know. That was just that was the thing that kind of came to mind when you were talking about the public welfare. And I mean, there's also arguments out there. I don't know how much I personally adhere to them or not, that the introduction of the phrase the public welfare was not expansionist in its definition at all, that it was more of a maintaining type of language in the tradition of the night watchman, right?
No, I think that you're shoehorning your perspective on all of this into your interpretation of the preamble.
Well, it's the liberal interpretation, under classic liberalism at the time, which was the philosophy.
Right, but if we were to go by that definition, we would say that it was bad for them to expand the government to include such things as the fire department and the school systems, and I'm just not understanding how you're able to then draw the line.
Well, I would say that under the... I guess, I can see how that would be a...
That's what I've been sitting here confused about the entire time. I don't get it at all. Because throughout history, there's always been people like you. I can find you 100 years ago crossing your arms and saying, no, people don't have self-reliance if they don't work in the factories when they're a teenager. Why do women need to vote? We need them in the kitchen. But no, we recognize with the clarity of hindsight that that's shitty. I'm trying to learn from the hindsight, and you're like, nope, it's different in the future. Why? I don't get it.
I think that at some point you have to question the society's reliance on the state.
But we're already reliant on the state. Do you use the roads?
And is that good that we're more reliant on the state than less?
I'm sorry. Do you think it's bad that I'm reliant on the fire department instead of coming up with my own firefighting mechanisms in case there's a fire?
No, not at all. But that's something that we've agreed to, and we've also agreed as a society that the ceiling to that benefit is X amount of taxation to pay for the fire department. It does.
Dude, the fire department isn't a singular thing. It's not like we flipped on the fire department switch and now we have fire departments. The fire departments have been getting better and more expensive since we started funding them publicly because technology has gotten better. We're giving them better fire trucks, better firefighting tools, better medical equipment. Same thing with EMTs. An ambulance is a better hospital than a hospital from 50 years ago.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that over the time, as we move forward, these things will scale, and that's to be expected. At what point, though? You keep saying at what point, and I'm basically just saying never until the government runs out of cool things to do for free. That's what humans on Earth should be about. That's how we get to the utopia. And in the utopia, we can teach we can teach reliance in schools. We don't have to the only argument I see here is that people have to suffer in order to have self-reliance, which I also just don't agree with. I guess I just don't take a utopian future as a legitimate part of my argumentation. So that's not in my rubric to be like,
I don't think it's going to happen during my lifetime. I'd love to see it, but I don't think it is, but I want to get there eventually for humans on Earth. So let's keep doing it better. What you still haven't answered my concern about, you're basically the asshole who was saying we shouldn't publicly fund the fire department. You're just saying it about the things we haven't done yet. And I'm just not understanding how you don't see yourself sitting on that gradient. You just happen to be sitting on it on the year 2026. So we're arguing about UBI instead of the fire department.
I mean, I guess I could see your argumentation. I just don't think that it's legitimate going forward. Because there's also a standard of living, right? When it comes to
what's special about 2026? Why are we stopping now?
It's not stopping now. It's saying that our standard of living is here, right? Maybe it's I don't even know. We'll just pick a figure that's easy to do math with. $100,000, right? That's your standard of living in the year 2050.
I have a better one, because money's fucking meaningless. Money is a means to an end. No, you can't eat money. Some people like laying in big piles of it, but the only reason that's fun is because of all the things you can do with it. Who cares about money? HDI, the Human Development Index, actually very carefully ignores money because it's a means to an end. They look at things like child mortality rates, the likelihood of people to get a good education, the likelihood of people to be hungry or ill, or to get good health care if they are ill. Those things matter. Those things affect people's lives. And we can look at something like HDI to judge how good a job a country is doing of keeping up with this satiation of this hedonic satiation of society getting better, where we want to keep striving asymptotically towards that beautiful, perfect HDI score of 100. Even though it's not a perfect measure, it's just a good one that we have. So who the fuck cares about dollars, dude? Why do you care about money? I don't care about money. I care about stuff. I care about people.
It's a metric, you know. It's money. We use money now because, you know, we don't go out and hunt buffalo every day, right? It's just a proxy. But
well,
the point
Elon Musk's net worth is something like 1 billion times higher than mine. Is he 1 billion times happier?
I bet you $1 billion he can't hunt a buffalo, but that's besides the point.
You dodged my question. Is he 1 billion times happier? Because if he is, then money's a pretty good measure. But if he isn't, then it's not.
No, I don't think money makes you happy. You know,
I explained earlier that being poor makes it hard to be happy, but above a certain threshold, it stops really mattering how much money you have, which is why we tax people one of the reasons why we tax people so much more heavily if they're above that level.
Yeah, they have the same kind of metric when it comes to income versus how invested in you are in the job that you're doing. They have the same kind of thing there. But if we increasingly hand the state the levers of power to do these things, does that not lead to the eventual central planning state model where people become reliant and the state's monopoly on force becoming a more and more deterrent?
State's monopoly on force?
Yeah, because the state has a monopoly on force, right? So say that the state decides that, you know, we should do all these great, wonderful things in this utopian future, and you come along and you go, well, you know, I don't really like the state coming in and taking the wealth that I've created to redistribute it to all these programs. And the state goes, well, I guess you got to go to prison.
I just don't consider wealth something that you've worked for in that sense. Like, I recognize that, like, there's a relationship between how hard you work and how much wealth you are. But, like, money is this, like, coupon system for participating in capitalism, which is a system that was designed before you were born that you're participating in because of the social construct. So I'm just, like, not social contract, rather. I'm just not impressed that you have money. Like, it'd be as though you're acting like you go to Chuck E. Cheese's and you play your games and you get your tickets and you want to go buy a prize at the counter, and suddenly you're saying, these are my coupons. I decide how spending them is supposed to work. I decide the rules of how they're exchanged over this counter. And the manager's telling you, dude, we designed the whole fucking system to make this place work. You're not fucking in charge here. Why are you so proud of your coupons? We gave them to you for participating in these machines that we designed. Like, that's how I think about money. Like, where do you get your entitlement to money when it's just like the scoring system in a game that somebody else designed?
Well, money is a measure of wealth created, right? So if you create wealth, you are, so like, for instance, in a market exchange, right? If you provide a good or service, that good or service is...
I understand capitalism. I'm just saying that it's a participatory system.
Okay.
And like, so here, let's strip away everything that's necessary. The only government organization that's required is the Federal Reserve, because they're the ones who handle money. It costs something to print the fucking money, so they have to tax some of the money they print in order to print the fucking money in the first place. And that's without the fire department. That's without the police department. That's without anything else happening in the government. They're just the money police. That's all they do. And it's just, again, like, the fact that you don't recognize that the system can decide what the rules are year over year demonstrates that you feel entitled to something that simply doesn't grow on trees.
Because I'm entitled to the wealth created by my labor.
No, you aren't.
For instance. So do you not believe in private property? Then?
No. I believe in private property. So if you want to store your wealth in something that has an inherent value, that sounds like maybe what it's sensible for you. Maybe you need to have a pile of gold in your basement. Why are you putting your wealth into something arbitrary that has rules designed for it by the government if you so care about preserving it? Money's the wrong vehicle for you, buddy. You should move to the woods and collect resources. I don't know.
Well, just money is just the proxy for the argumentation.
Right. And it's a participatory thing. You decide to put your wealth into money as opposed to other resources or assets. And in doing so, you sign the contract of accepting the rules for that money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but regardless of the monetary system, you do agree that your labor, if it produces wealth, that is your property and you are entitled to the wealth created therein, correct?
No, because I think that if we're to fairly pay everybody who contributed to that wealth, we need to consider the roads you drove on to accomplish that work. We need to consider the fact that you did the work without being robbed because the policeman protected you. We need to consider the fact that that small fire that you had at your business got put out by the fire department for free, and we need to pay those people. And in order to make sure that we're appropriately doing that, we need to take some of that money. That's how the system works, whether you like it or not. That's the social contract. That's why we have taxation. Yeah, like you're just pretending that you're the most important piece of the pie when you aren't, because you don't get to do any of that work if there aren't literally millions of other people working on it for you. We need to pay those people, dude.
That's why we agree to pay taxes.
Right. And year over year, we get to decide the rules on that. And you just aren't the only person. Like, your voice isn't the only one. You need to get involved in politics and democracy if you want to have a bigger voice in it. I'd like to think that I'm doing that by being a political commentator and educating people that it's just like, you know, like, you're a house cat who is upset about the fact that I am not home. Like, what if my cat was like, no, Oscar, you have to stay home all day, and I had to explain to my cat, like, no, I have to go to work so that I can like buy the cat food that you eat. And they're like, no, just give me the cat food anyway. Like, I don't think you understand the social contract. Thank you very much, Simon, for the galaxy.
So you want to get to this utopian place where the government provides everything so that you can appease your house cat? Like,
you're the house cat in this analogy. You don't respect the system that feeds you.
Well, I think that we as individuals and as citizens are, or ideally should be, in control of the system that we use to trade and barter goods and services.
Right, but you're saying you are so selfishly like thinking that it isn't because of all these other things that you got to make the money in the first place. So they deserve their cut, and we call that cut taxes. And you're sitting here acting as though every decision that's been made in the past is for some reason good, but expanding that tax burden on you is for some reason bad. But that's just not how the system works. Like,
because if you have roads that work that allow one to, you know, create wealth and spread their product everywhere and whatever, then is that what
roads are expensive to maintain? Like, no, like again with like the roads are even an example of the sort of thing that are kind of a little bit newer than taxes in most cases. It wasn't until we had those super high tax rates in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that we started building the interstate highway system that got the country interconnected in such a way that you could have a large scale business that was busy in more than one city, more than in just the city that you built it in. Like there's all these things where we go, all right, great, we got everything up to speed, cool, let's build something new that makes life better for people, and that's going to change the tax burden in this way. Like, you're just sitting here being like, saying you don't want what's next. And we're getting to a very circular component of the argument where you just feel entitled to money when money's fucking made up by the government. You're either participating in the social contract or not. You're acting like a sovereign citizen.
The way I'm saying that having roads isn't good enough, why aren't we flying around? I'm like, the state's going to have to take more of my money to allow every vehicle to fly around instead of drive on roads.
But we do things like that. The government used tax money to subsidize the airlines during COVID because they were too important to our economy and to people's everyday lives to let them fail, because they didn't have the sort of cash reserves that companies like the cruise lines had. The cruise lines had massive billion-dollar cash reserves because they recognize they are unimportant to the economy. They are just a luxury good. So the government's not going to rescue Carnival. So they have to have the cash on hand. That's not going to be the case with Delta and United and all those other airlines. So we bail them out with tax money because we recognize the good that they do to society, if the thing that's fucking them up isn't their fault, like it was in the case of COVID. We can make the same argument for the banks in 2008, though there are some people that we should have imprisoned about that.
Fair. That would be the example of the ceiling I was talking about, right? Like, because it is in the public interest and the economic interest to bail out some airlines, it's not in the public interest and economic interest to bail out cruise lines.
Right.
That's that thing.
Right, but I can imagine a world where everybody's needs are met and there's a pandemic, and then we solve the pandemic, and then the cruise lines are like, hey, can we get a bailout? And the people vote and are like, fuck, we have so much wealth, why not? We like the cruise lines. That could happen in 100 years. That could happen in 200 years. We're not there yet, which is why we're not talking about the cruise lines. We're talking about feeding and educating children and young adults.
Yeah, that's fine. Nobody has an argument against that.
You seem to.
I'm talking about the utopian cruise line bailout.
Sure.
System.
Right, that sounds nice, but we're not going to get to the utopia if people think like you.
because utopias are not real. Like they exist in the imagination.
Do you think that getting, I recognize it's like an asymptotic thing that we can't actually get to. Do you think it's better to get closer to the utopia?
Depends on how you do it and what it looks like.
No. What do you mean? The utopia is necessarily good. The utopia is definitionally good. You can't get closer to the utopia while making things worse. That's oxymoronic. It's a paradoxical.
Well, there's been some people throughout history whose definition of utopia is not great.
I think we've made a pretty clear definition of utopia for the sake of this conversation, and I think you know it.
Fair enough. All right. Cool. I'm going to jump off of here. Good talking to you, though. Good food for thought. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
I'm out.
Bizarre. Thank you, Danny. I don't have to remember to say Daniel or Danielle. It's Danielle, but because I now know that this is Danny. She goes by Danny. OQ team is making a difference. Activism role models. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate the $3 on Venmo, and I appreciate the $5 from Joe Cooper, who wants to add to the conversation. People like this are under the impression that the U.S. has some massive welfare state that traps people in poverty, when the reality is that we have the most paltry safety net of any country, and there's no data to support that it traps people. Oh, I want to see more details. Show me the whole message, Venmo. I think that's the end of it. Maybe that was just the end of the message. Over on YouTube Super Chat, we have Jazz saying, we've done studies on all this. Given that all needs are met, a majority of people still work. We have an innate desire for work. It gives us motivation. I agree. That's what I was trying to say. If we just gave everybody their basic needs, it's amazing the things that most people would be getting up to. Would there be some lazy freeloaders? Sure. Society would judge them. Who the fuck cares? Right? We already have lazy freeloaders. They're just suffering more. Why is that better? I don't get it. I just realized this live went long, kept me distracted at work, so thanks. W. Jesse for being here. Love to have you. That's from Kronos for $5 on YouTube Super Chat. Thank you very much, Kronos. Here, let's make 3 hours. So we've got. Did Aaron get in? Yeah. Excellent. He participated enough in the chat to get live privileges. Let's hope he doesn't say something silly and get them taken away. Aaron, how old are you?
I'm 23. Nice to meet you, Oscar.
You as well. Are you a Trump supporter?
I would say I'm a voter, but I wouldn't really say I'm a supporter.
Sure.
And it's funny, I didn't actually get live privileges. My wife actually helped me out, and I switched to her account. So here I am.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Worked out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you say that you're a voter but not a supporter, and I get a lot of that, like, kind of wishy-washy. Like, I don't like totally support Trump. Just if the election was held tomorrow, who would you vote for? If it was again versus Kamala versus Trump?
I definitely choose Trump over Kamala. Yeah.
Okay. So by the way I define it, that makes you a Trump supporter. Why do you think that that's the reasonable choice?
Well, the largest reason that I would point to is just a genuine fear of the nihilism and the utilitarianism that I see on the left. There was a long time where I was on the left, but I'm a religious person, and honestly, it's kind of difficult for me to get behind it. I would be more than happy to vote for a left-wing candidate if it took a strong opposition to, euthanasia, late-term abortion, but that's kind of just like a single issue for me. I don't think it's as interesting as the conversation that we could have about America no longer being a democracy or anything like that.
The religion thing makes it hard. Because I'm not religious, I'm an atheist. So if the answer for why you have some particular political alignment is that your religion suggests that that's the right way,
I wouldn't frame it like that, Oscar. I'm simply saying, like, I don't like Trump, but you put a gun to my head and you make me pick between Kamala and Trump. Kamala, who didn't reveal exculpatory evidence to people with like marijuana. She was like clearly unprincipled. Trump is too. Like, I don't like either of these candidates, right? But in one case, right, and people are saying late-term abortion doesn't exist. I mean, it does.
Nobody on the left is supporting late-term abortion except...
I'm not saying people support it, Oscar. But I am saying that people don't want to ban it. They do not want to prohibit it. And that alone for me, well, I'm glad you do. The politicians don't.
No.
If a politician would come out and say that, I would support them. I truly would.
Okay, so hold on. I just want to be totally clear. We're not talking about like when a mother is dying and 7 months pregnant and they need to terminate the pregnancy to like make sure that she at least can survive. Like, we're not talking about that, right?
No, we're not. I mean, there was a piece on The Atlantic just all about this. Like, it isn't common, and I totally agree that it's not common, but I don't look at things based on like a raw numbers game.
Okay.
Right?
So wait, are you suggesting that there are Democratic like left candidates that are in favor of late-term abortion for like optional reasons?
No, my tendency and the thing that I'm maintaining is that repeatedly, when Pete Buttigieg, Beto O'Rourke, a variety of Democratic candidates on debate stages were asked, would you support any limit on abortion? They repeatedly said no. And I don't think that this is something that actually represents the views of the modern Democrats. I know many Democrats who don't support this, but because of being ideologically captured by a very extreme fringe within their base, they don't say anything about it. Like just recently.
I'm sorry, this just doesn't sound accurate about the political landscape. Who is it who's defending late-term abortions? I think you can find a soundbite like that where it's so obvious to everybody in the room that we're talking about non-late-term abortions, which is the only thing that anybody discusses seriously in terms of being pro-abortion.
Oscar, with respect, I think you're missing my point. I'm not saying that people defend late-term abortion. I'm saying they don't do anything to limit it. Refusing to do anything to limit it, even when repeatedly prompted and asked to do it, is something that my conscience just cannot get behind. And it's not just on abortion. It also applies for euthanasia.
I am not understanding your concern at all. You think that we need to be doing more than we already are to prevent late-term abortions?
Yeah, 100%. I think there should be laws on the book that prohibit late-term abortions, which we do not have. In maybe 25 states, we don't have those rules.
Well, that's because it's been given back to the states because Roe v. Wade has been overturned. It was already protected when we had Roe v. Wade in place.
Well, no. In Roe v. Wade, what it allowed for is no state could create prohibitions before the fetal viability limit. That's like Planned Parenthood v. Casey. I'm sure you know that. I'm not.
Right.
I don't mean to lecture you.
And then after that.
Yep. After that, all of a sudden, states by states could make their laws on their own. Some states did impose late-term abortion bans, which I fully support. But Oscar, what I'm telling you is that I would like states like Vermont, states like California, and the modern DNC to come out and take a reasonable European-style position.
Hold on. I feel like we could make a law like that heart surgeons aren't allowed to cut your heart in half, right? And that would prevent heart surgeons from cutting people's hearts in half, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be a sensible law, according to you?
Yeah, but I think anyone who would be asked, are you opposed to heart surgeons cutting people's hearts apart? People would say, yeah, I agree with that.
You're getting away from my line of questioning, which is like what we should be talking about. Like if you have a soundbite of somebody saying something wrong from years ago, I just don't care. Find me a heart surgeon that's cutting a heart in half, and then we can talk about people doing that. Like there's other systems than laws in place.
Read the Atlantic piece. It talks extensively about how this does happen, not like in the millions, but it does happen. If your position is that late-term abortions for mental health reasons never happen in the United States, that is simply wrong, Oscar. And there's plenty of good journalism that indicates this. Oh, we don't have a specific number. I don't know. But
is it 7 or 700,000?
Why does the number specifically matter when I'm making a moral argument, man? Like I'm saying that it is something
because if we're going to use a moral argument to decide whether our legislative attention is deserved on something, we need to know how big of a problem it is, because we could have all sorts of random little things that we want the government to go after, but we could pile up that list of grievances and say it's too large for the amount of hours available in a day for all.
Totally right.
Right.
You're
so
totally
again,
right.
I'm just trying. What I'm saying is I think that you're attacking a completely made up problem that somebody else has convinced you is a serious problem.
And maybe that's the case. So let me talk through my reasoning and you can tell me where the gap is. Okay? Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
So my position on the abortion case, and this wasn't exactly what I wanted to argue about, but I think, and I look at politics and the public sphere through a moral lens when I see what people are advocating for and what people are passionate about and where people draw the line. I think that there is a kind of moral cancer that comes in when we're willing to say that some lives we're going to disregard just because there's very few of them. And I agree that late-term abortions aren't happening in the tens of thousands. But the very fact that we can't come to a room and then say, we are going to put hard limits on euthanasia for 25-year-old girls who are in wheelchairs that don't have terminal illnesses, if we say that we're not going to put hard limits on abortion, and this is happening, Oscar. I mean, you can look incredulous, but this really does happen. It happened in Spain just recently.
I'm incredulous not to the fact that these things can happen. I'm incredulous to how unwilling you are to consider proportionality in your assessment of what's important in American politics.
I'm not a consequentialist.
How do you feel about school shootings? How do you feel about
They're
school
awful.
shootings?
I think that anyone who says that we shouldn't do anything about school shootings does not deserve my vote. This is the point that I'm making. It's kind of like what's the spirit of the opposition? And if they truly recognize it as a problem, but they have disagreements about how they will deal with it, then I'm with them. But you see how there's a difference here, right? At least the GOP, and you might say that they're insincere.
There's something I just, we got past this earlier because you were like kind of bringing up other things. But like, first of all, just forget about abortion for a second. Do you recognize that not every solution is going to be a law? There are other ways to solve problems in society than making the government bigger. I think hopefully
Germany does this. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, like, for example, we have policies and procedures that doctors use to make medical decisions about people's bodies. And it just isn't the job of the legislator in our society to determine, like I gave the extreme example of doctors cutting people's hearts in half, but we could have, like, say, a medical procedure where the scientists say, oh, you know what? We've done longitudinal studies. It's been 20 years that we've been doing this procedure. Now we have 20 years of data. This isn't giving the outcomes we thought it would. This isn't the best way to handle this type of heart ailment. The doctors then decide we should stop doing that. We have the academic system that exists around doctors making those sorts of decisions is doing just a perfectly fine job of handling it with heart ailments. Why are you not then saying that we need to have laws to protect people from these bad medical practices? Sometimes something is so bad that we say, okay, maybe we shouldn't lobotomize people anymore. Like we make certain laws against certain things. I'm just saying that the problem has to be real for it to be worth my attention. And I don't think you're bringing me a real problem. I think if you find examples of late term abortions that are like supported by the medical community in the United States, you'll find the edge cases where it's obviously the case that like a late term abortion was reasonable. Oh, she was in a car accident and the baby's almost certainly going to die, but we know she's going to die if we try to save the baby. It's like, maybe just try to save her. Like those are or like some other like, major complications that happen. Like, why is it that you feel that for this particular wedge issue, we need the legislators to step in and regulate it instead of the doctors who are already doing a great job handling it?
So I think that's a very fair point. And if I was faced with compelling evidence that non-legislative means of intervention, which is what Germany believes in, right? And they do stuff like that for abortions after 15 weeks. Like, if someone were to come forward and offer a counterproposal that wasn't oriented around prohibition, to say, oh, actually, this is what we're going to do to prevent third trimester abortions, and this is why it is the best course of action to do that, I could totally have that conversation. But my concern is that we aren't moving in that direction where there's like a broader cultural zeitgeist that says, oh no, we're not going to support like mental health caused euthanasia. We're not going to support third trimester abortions. We're going to try to fight against them. I think nihilism is the enemy, Oscar. I
don't accept that we arrive at nihilism by listening to doctors. That's fucking nonsense to me.
Wait, is that what I said? No, I'm talking about the politicians. I'm saying politicians are not drawing a hard line on what is good and what is bad in society. That's why I'm so sympathetic.
No, they're not being nihilistic. No. The leap you're making is that because the politicians are recognizing it might not be their job, you're then saying that that's nihilism. But no, they're not saying it's not their job. They're saying it's the doctor's job.
Wait. So you're saying that there are politicians on the left right now, mainstream politicians on the left, who are coming out and saying, we need to do something to reduce the amount of euthanasia and late-term abortions in America.
Okay, euthanasia is such a different topic. Like, can we not muddy the waters by like throwing that asterisk in this very weird and nuanced
as a religious
conversation?
person, I actually don't think that it's a different topic. The point is I believe that there's a sanctity in life and human dignity.
And this is you cut me off at the beginning, but this is why I said that the religious thing is going to be an issue, because I'm not going to sit here and try to argue that an abortion is different than euthanizing an adult if your religion tells you that it's the same. The only thing I'm left to tell you is that your religion is wrong, which I think it is, because I'm an atheist. Is this going to become a debate about religion?
I mean, I'm open to any kind of conversation, Oscar. I mostly came on for the Americas.
So there's a fork in the road here. I'm not going to change your religious convictions. I don't particularly want to try. perfectly qualified to try. I've had that chapter in my reading. I've read all those Richard Dawkins books. I could do it, but I then just have to ask.
I'm a former atheist, for whatever it's worth. I hear you.
It's worth absolutely nothing to me, because I'm only interested in who you are today and the ideas that you believe right now. And right now, you believe that your religious convictions should be the basis on which we pass legislation in this country, and that's fucking un-American. Do you agree or disagree?
That really isn't what I said, Oscar. I'm not saying.
I'm not saying
we should
you said
legislate.
that. That is my assessment of your perspective. Is that you think that we should legislate in this country based on your religious convictions, and I don't think that we should.
Well, I think that we should legislate some things based on people's moral and religious convictions, regardless of where they're coming from.
No,
you threw in nudity laws.
You threw in the word moral to like, that was a little disingenuous, because obviously I think that we make laws based on our ethics. I'm just saying that your particular religious
so why
convictions.
Why does it matter if my ethics come from my faith versus from some like secular understanding of like evolutionary biology? Why does that matter? How is that relevant?
Because if you can't base your perspective on morals in a way that we know to affect the suffering of other people, which is the only thing that I think we should value when making ethical decisions about the government, then I'm just not interested in your religious convictions at all.
Wait, but you see how you're assuming a utilitarian worldview for understanding how legislation
That's
should
why you don't
occur,
like
right?
utilitarianism, because it doesn't please God.
I mean, that is one reason. I also think that it ultimately is self-defeating. I think that people who follow utilitarian and hedonistic
No, I can't get past
lifestyles
the
are
part that it
ultimately
doesn't
miserable.
please God. I'm not interested in how you weigh utilitarianism, because you don't. I value suffering. You don't. You value what God says. We can't agree on anything.
I think suffering can be good. I think suffering can be deeply rewarding. I mean, like, there's a ton of literature that is associated
No
with this.
pain, no gain, dude. I get it. I've done some hard things in my life. I've subjected myself to some
not just
misery.
that. I really don't think that. I think that people sometimes deserve to suffer. And I think you would agree with that. I think that like Richard Epstein and like all these people deserve to suffer.
I'm actually when it comes to suffering, even in really extreme cases, I actually just think that suffering is in itself such a bad thing that it's not really what I'm after when we punish people for crimes. I'm more about protecting people from criminals. I'm more about reducing recidivism rates. I'm really more about reducing the cost of crimes on people who are either the victims of them or paying taxes into the system that protect people from them. Like, I'm not the type of person who gets pleasure from knowing that somebody like Jeffrey Epstein maybe suffered at the end. Like, that doesn't do it for me personally. And I think it's because I'm an
And that's fine. Do you think it would be immoral for someone to legislate based on that? Do you think it would be immoral to create punitive laws and argue for the fact that someone like Jeffrey Epstein should be punished even if it doesn't affect the recidivism rate?
I'm averse to that sort of thinking. Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, Oscar. I'm simply saying that you were saying that my view was un-American.
I would vote against the law that created suffering without any obvious benefit to any other people, even if the people suffering were reprehensible monsters whose suffering I don't value. I value a person suffering less. If somebody suffers as a consequence of the punishment that the punitive system has for them, that's worth it, because it's so much more important that people not be raped.
Yeah, but you'd rather it not happen. You would rather they don't suffer.
If we make rapists suffer by protecting victims, I'm okay with that. But if we don't protect any victims, I'm not going to push the button that makes the rapist suffer, because I'm not a fucking psychopath.
I hear you on your position. I'm saying, would you think it is un-American for someone to say, actually, I think rapists should suffer even if it doesn't impact recidivism rates?
I think we're getting away from the problem here, which is that you and I can't agree about what's good and bad at all.
Actually, Oscar, I don't think that we are, because you are making a claim about something being un-American, which is a descriptive claim that is distinct from your moral claim, right? So you are saying that you need to base legislation on an understanding of whether suffering is justified or unjustified. I am telling you that that is not how we actually do things in America historically. And the reason why I think that's the case is because punitive legislation has always been something that we cared about in this country. I'm sure that most of your followers would also agree with that. And you might disagree, and that's totally valid. And that's something
I think there's about a half dozen different reasons why we have punitive legislation, and I think that you're going to value what God considers the value of suffering to be more than any of the rest of them, and I'm just so much more concerned with the rest of them. I'm so much more concerned with protecting people from crimes. I'm so much more concerned with rehabilitating
I actually
people who
am
can be
more concerned with those things too.
Here,
I agree with you.
If I had a magical machine and we could put a rapist in it, and it turns them into not a rapist anymore, makes them feel very sorry for what they did, but it doesn't cause them any suffering, do you think that's a better thing to do to rapists than to like make them suffer?
100%. I totally agree with you.
Okay, that seems to be in conflict with everything else you've said about suffering in the last few minutes.
So I don't think it is, because in the caveat that you were just providing, I think that would necessitate some understanding of repentance and sincere remorse. I truly think anyone can be forgiven. Truly, I do. And if I have to choose between someone being forgiven and like truly repenting or someone suffering, of course I would choose the former.
I hate to cut you off, but I am, because I need to wrap the show. But I want to invite you to call in at the beginning of the episode. I'll give you an entire episode. I'll talk to you for 2 hours.
I would love that. I would love that. I think that we could have an excellent conversation. And Oscar, I'm sorry if I came off as aggressive in this conversation.
No, this is interesting. And I haven't spent a lot of time facing up with the walls that exist in these sorts of conversations with religion people, but I'm fucking here for it because I'm educated on religion too. My audience doesn't know that as much as they should.
That's excellent.
This is not an end of episode conversation. Sorry for all the people screaming no in the chat. It's the Oskar Quentin Show. I'm the boss around here. You don't have to watch every episode. I think Aaron's going to get his own episode.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll call. Do you episodes tomorrow?
Every single day, 10 to 12 Central Time. Sometimes
You're a
longer.
monster, dude. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. See you, man. Godspeed.
Godspeed was a crazy inclusion.
Yeah, Godspeed. Okay. What the hell? I sorry everybody. When somebody's that interesting, they might get their own episode. It happens sometimes, and that. In terms of keeping the show diverse, in terms of keeping the show interesting, I think that's where we're going to be. Joe Cooper sent me another $5 on Venmo to say, Democrats don't support any restriction is because the right aren't mature, intelligent enough to not go after physicians for performing necessary life-saving care, which creates scenarios where women die. That's why the left won't support the right-wing bullshit or laws around OB. Yeah, that was a point I missed. I was so distracted by that guy being confusing that I didn't bring up. It's like, yeah, if you legislate against third trimester abortions, doctors will let women die for fear of being incarcerated for murder, even if it's the sort of decision that should have been left up to a doctor instead of a judge.
It literally just happened a day or two ago. A woman died waiting for the fetal heartbeat to stop. I gotta look up the case.
Yeah, I don't know if people heard, but my producer off camera was just mentioning a case where that just happened. So yeah, that's a really good point that maybe I'll bring that up when I talk to that guy again. AV sent me $5 to say RN in operating room and neonatal care. The reason late-term abortions shouldn't be outright banned is because the only late-term abortions that occur are for severe fetal abnormalities where the fetus will die before or very soon after birth. I can explain more if needed. Once again, reasons not to legislate against these things. We should leave it up to doctors. Imagine if heart surgeons were going to prison for doing a surgery that maybe for some reason the lawyers and the judges and the legislators thought was bad, but all the doctors agreed was good. It's just not how we should handle fucking medicine. David sent me another $5. W's in chat for David. He has sent me a lot of dollars today. Guest, how do you feel about starving children? Which is happening more often? Well, maybe we'll ask him tomorrow. Holy cow. Let's take a look at the YouTube super chats. This is great. I don't have to touch the keyboard or mouse anymore. Somebody's sitting on the other side of the room doing it for me. Oh, see, yeah, Jesse, you got to start remembering. You got to start making a note of which of the last one I read is, because I can never remember where I left off.
You saw Kronos. You did not read Hell's Passive.
Hell's Passive has sent me $5 on YouTube Super Chat to say, I don't like everything he does, but then you're a supporter. Stop trying to hedge your bets so when it goes wrong, you have an out. Just own it. I agree. I think it's weak to not just stand on the fact that you support him being president because you're happy that he's president instead of Kamala Harris. That makes you a Trump supporter. Tavi sent me $5 on YouTube Super Chat to say, caller, who is to say one person's moral convictions are more important than their neighbors? That is no way to legislate in a democracy. I agree completely. Got to puzzle this shit out in ways that we can all agree are have to do with the facts of the matter, and that just isn't what we get when we get to religion. Mr. Bacco sent a gift membership to somebody. Thank you for doing that. Well, expanding the members only team, because we do have a members only stream Sunday evening after we do the Sunday evening show, 7 p.m. Central Time, just on YouTube. That one, so that there's no filter. That's more of a talk show type thing than a debate thing. Anyway, that has been the Oskar Quentin Show for today. Linktree in the bio if you want to support in all the ways that you guys know you can from just hearing me read the donations. That's Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. And you can follow me for free on all the other platforms. That helps out immensely, including following this account down here, Oskar Quentin 2. Get some followers on there, so that I should say, so that if this account gets banned, you can watch anyway. 10 to 12 Central Time, sometimes longer, because I hired staff and they do a bunch of the work. Jesse, am I forgetting anything to close the show out with?
Did you check Buy Me a Coffee?
Did I? I sure didn't. Thank you, Jesse. No more from Lucky Phil. Well, and anyway, happy 4th, everybody. I'm going to go watch Trump's speech. Have fun today. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy some of that freedom we have while it lasts. Goodbye, TikTok. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, YouTube.